Welcome. This story is meant to guide you gently into rest. Tonight, you will hear the ancient story of the Titans, the gods who ruled the world long before Zeus. You don't need to remember names, you don't need to follow every detail. Just allow the story to unfold as your body relaxes and your breathing becomes slow and easy. Long ago, before humans, before cities, before even the Olympian gods, the world was ruled by beings of immense power known as the Titans. The silence before creation, before there were stories, before there were gods, before even time knew how to move forward. There was only silence. Not a silence filled with expectation, not a silence waiting to be broken. But a deep, endless stillness stretching in all directions, without edges, without form, without thought. The ancient Greeks called this state chaos. Chaos was not disorder. It was not confusion. It was simply nothingness. A vast, open space where nothing yet existed and nothing yet needed to exist. There was no sky above, no earth below, no light, no darkness. Only the quiet presence of being unformed. In this place, there was no past to remember and no future to anticipate. Everything was perfectly still, and in that stillness, the universe rested. Slowly, almost imperceptibly, something began to change. Not with sound, not with force, but with a gentle shift, like the first breath taken after an eternal sleep. From the endless openness of chaos, the first essence began to emerge. It did not rush into existence. It did not demand attention. It simply was. This presence was solid, patient, and deeply calm. It was Gaia. Gaia was the earth, not as land or soil, but as the idea of grounding, of stability, of something that could hold existence itself. She spread outward quietly, forming a foundation where none had existed before. There was no effort in her creation, no struggle. She unfolded naturally, as if the universe had always intended her to be there. With Gaia came a sense of balance, a feeling of gentle weight, a place where things could finally rest. Above her, though above had little meaning yet, another presence began to form. A wide, arching expanse, endless and open. This was Uranus. Uranus was the sky, a vast and shimmering, stretching infinitely in every direction. He settled over Gaia like a soft veil, embracing her completely. Together, earth and sky created the first structure of the cosmos. A place where existence could continue to unfold, slowly, peacefully, without urgency. Below Gaia, far beneath her quiet surface, another force emerged. Deep, heavy, and immeasurable. This was Tartarus. Not a place of punishment, not yet. But a deep foundation, an abyss that anchored the universe, a space so profound that even the gods would later fear its depth. And still, even with Earth, sky, and the abyss, the world remained calm. There was no conflict, no ambition, no desire for control. Only existence learning how to exist. From this gentle balance, the earliest rhythms of the universe began to form. Time began to move, slowly, like a steady breath in and out. And within this rhythm, new beings began to take shape. They were not born in pain, or chaos, or struggle. They emerged as natural expressions of the universe itself. These beings carried immense power, but also deep patience. They were vast, ancient, and closely tied to the forces of nature. They were the Titans. At first, they did not speak, did not rule, did not demand worship. They simply existed, learning the shape of the world and their place within it. Each Titan carried an aspect of reality, time, memory, light, oceans, and the slow turning of the cosmos. And as they awakened one by one, the universe felt fuller, richer, more alive. This was the beginning of an age long forgotten, an age before thunder, before kings of Olympus, before war among the gods. An age of quiet creation. An age where power rested peacefully, and nothing yet feared the future. And among these ancient beings, still young in the vastness of eternity, one Titan would one day change everything. But for now, the world remained calm, resting gently in its earliest form. As the Titans slowly opened their eyes for the first time, Gaia, Tartarus, and the shaping of the world as the Titans slowly awakened within the young universe, the world itself continued to take shape, guided not by force, but by quiet intention. Gaia, the earth, rested at the center of all things. She was vast, patient, and endlessly enduring. There was no urgency in her movements, no desire to rush creation. She existed as a gentle foundation, a place where life, one day, might find stability. Above her, Uranus, the sky, remained stretched wide, his presence constant and unchanging. He shimmered softly, filled with distant stars that had not yet learned how to shine. Together, earth and sky existed in a timeless embrace, one supporting, the other covering, both necessary, both calm. And beneath Gaia, far below where light could ever reach, Tartarus lay in deep stillness. Tartarus was not evil, not cruel, not yet feared. He was depth itself, an immeasurable quiet, a place of absolute gravity and silence. Where Gaia offered support, Tartarus offered balance. He anchored the universe, giving weight to existence, ensuring that the cosmos would not drift apart into nothingness. Between these forces, the world found its first sense of harmony. There were no storms, no earthquakes, no violent changes. Only slow, natural motion. Within Gaia's vast form, the Titans began to stir more fully. They did not awaken all at once. Each Titan rose gently into awareness, as if emerging from a deep and restful sleep. First came Oceanus, a vast, flowing presence, encircling the world with endless waters. His movement was smooth, steady, never hurried. He carried the rhythm of tides long before waves had learned how to crash. Then came Cronus, Titan of deep thought and understanding, quiet and observant, watching the universe as it unfolded. Cronus followed, associated with the stars and celestial order, helping establish the slow patterns of the heavens. Hyperion emerged as gentle light, not harsh, not blinding, but warm and steady, the promise of illumination yet to come. And with him came Thea, whose presence carried brightness and clarity, allowing light to be seen and beauty to be recognized. Each Titan embodied a fundamental truth of existence, not ruling over it, but expressing it. There was no hierarchy among them, no king, no throne. They existed as equals, connected deeply to one another and to the world itself. Among the Titanesses, Rhea brought nurturing and continuity. A sense of gentle protection. Mnemosyne carried memory, not as burden, but as soft recollection, ensuring that nothing important would ever truly be lost. Tessis embodied the nourishing flow of waters, fresh streams, quiet springs, life-giving currents. And Phoebe, calm and luminous, brought quiet foresight, a sense that the future could be felt, even before it arrived. Together, the Titans shaped the unseen structure of the universe. They did not speak laws into existence, they did not command the world to obey. They allowed reality to settle. Time moved gently around them, stretching long and wide, without urgency. A day could pass, or 1,000 years, and it felt the same. The universe breathed slowly. Gaia watched her children with quiet pride. She felt their presence within her, their strength, their calm power. But she also felt something else. A subtle tension, not yet conflict, but difference. For while Gaia nurtured, Uranus began to tighten his hold. He remained always above her, never allowing space, never allowing separation. His constant presence began to feel heavy. The sky pressed close, too close. And within Gaia, the Titans felt confined. They were powerful, ancient, and vast. Yet they were held within the earth, unable to rise freely, unable to fully express their nature. Still, no one resisted, no one rebelled. Not yet. The universe was still young, and patience was natural. But change, like all things, was inevitable. Deep within Gaia's quiet strength, a slow resolve began to form. A feeling that balance required movement, that stillness, held too long, could become restraint. And among her many children, one Titan would soon listen more closely to this feeling. One who would act where others remained calm. But for now, the Titans remained in gentle existence, the world steady, the universe breathing slowly. As destiny itself began to stir, almost imperceptibly, beneath the weight of the sky. The first tension in the cosmos for a long time, the world remained in quiet balance. The Titans existed within Gaia, resting in her vastness, their power steady, their awareness calm. Above them, Uranus, the sky, continued his endless stretch, covering the earth completely, never moving away, never allowing space to form. At first, this closeness felt natural. Sky and earth had never known separation. But over ages uncounted, the weight of Uranus's presence grew heavy. Gaia felt it first. She carried the mountains of existence within her, the deep roots of reality, the slow pulse of the world itself. And she felt pressure, not pain, but strain. Her children, the Titans, grew restless within her depths. They were not born to remain hidden, not meant to be forever enclosed. Each Titan carried an aspect of the universe, and each longed, softly, for expression. Oceanus wished to flow freely, to circle the world without confinement. Hyperion felt light pressing against darkness, wanting space to shine. Mnemosyne sensed memories forming, and wished for time to unfold beyond stillness. But Uranus did not move. He remained pressed close, unyielding, unchanging. Gaia spoke gently to him, asking for space, for breath, for room for their children to rise. But Uranus did not listen. In his vastness, he feared change. He believed that separation would bring disorder, that movement would lead to loss of control. So he held tighter, locking the world in stillness. And within Gaia, a deeper resolve began to grow. Not anger, not hatred, but determination. She loved her children, and she knew the universe could not remain as it was forever. Change was not destruction. Change was necessary, quietly, without rushing. Gaia formed a plan. She reached deep into herself, drawing forth one of the hardest substances she could create. From her own essence, she shaped a great sickle, curved, sharp, and heavy with purpose. She did not announce her intention. She did not call out to all her children. Instead, she waited, and watched, and listened. Among the Titans, one stood apart. Cronus. He was not the strongest, nor the wisest, nor the brightest. But he was attentive. He listened to Gaia's quiet unease, felt her weight, understood her need for change. Where others accepted stillness, Cronus questioned it. Gaia spoke to him softly, not with commands, but with truth. She told him of the strain she bore, of the future that could never unfold unless the sky released his hold. Cronus listened, and in his listening, he accepted a role that would shape all ages to come. Not with joy, not with pride, but with resolve. When the time came, as Uranus descended once more to embrace the earth, Cronus waited, hidden, silent, patient, as the sky pressed down, filling all space. Cronus rose. With a single, decisive motion, he struck. The sickle cut through the endless closeness, severing sky from earth, separating above from below, creating space where none had existed before. Uranus cried out, his voice echoing across the newborn cosmos. From his blood, new beings would later arise, but that was a story for another time. What mattered now was that the sky pulled away. For the first time, Gaia could breathe. The Titans felt it immediately. Space opened around them, light filtered in, movement became possible. The universe expanded, stretching outward, learning how to grow. Uranus retreated, his power diminished, his rule ended. As he fell back into the heavens, he spoke a prophecy, soft, yet heavy with inevitability. He warned Cronus that just as he had overthrown his father, so too would he be overthrown by his own child. Cronus heard the words, but did not yet fear them. The present felt victorious, the future distant. And so, with Uranus removed, the Titans emerged fully into the world. Cronus rose as their leader, not crowned, but acknowledged. The age of the Titans had truly begun. An age of vast power, quiet order, and golden peace. Yet beneath this calm beginning, a seed had been planted. A cycle of succession, of fear, and of fate. One that would one day awaken again. But for now, the world rested in its new freedom, the sky held high above, the earth steady below. And the Titans ruled in silence as the universe drifted into a long, golden age. The rise of the Titans and the new order with the sky lifted high above the earth, and space finally allowed to exist, the world entered a new and quieter rhythm. The Titans emerged fully from Gaia's depths, no longer confined, no longer pressed beneath the weight of Uranus. They stood within the open universe, vast, ancient, and deeply calm. Above them, the sky arched wide and distant, no longer touching the earth, but watching from afar. Below them, Gaia rested, her burden eased, her strength renewed. For the first time since creation, there was room to breathe. Time began to move differently. Moments stretched long, ages passed softly, without urgency or conflict. At the center of this new order stood Cronus. He did not declare himself king with words, nor did he demand obedience. Leadership came to him naturally, accepted quietly by his siblings. Cronus embodied time itself, steady, measured, unavoidable. He carried the weight of inevitability and the calm authority of one who understood cycles, beginnings, and endings. Under Cronus's guidance, the Titans shaped the world without haste. There were no wars, no rivalries, no need for dominance. Each Titan tended to their domain, not as ruler, but as caretaker. Oceanus flowed endlessly around the edges of the world, his waters calm and nourishing, forming boundaries that held the land in gentle embrace. Rivers and streams followed his rhythm, moving slowly, never rushing. Hyperion guided the gentle light of the heavens, introducing warmth and clarity, allowing the world to be seen. From him would later come the sun, but for now light remained soft and even. Coeus maintained balance and understanding, ensuring that the unseen structures of reality held firm. Cronus aligned the stars, setting slow patterns in the sky, marking the earliest sense of direction and order. Among the Titanesses, Rhea brought nurturing and continuity, a quiet promise that life could one day endure. She moved beside Cronus, steady and gentle, not seeking power, but harmony. Mnemosyne preserved memory, holding the stories of the universe, so nothing would be forgotten, even as time moved forward. Tessis nurtured the waters, fresh and flowing, ensuring balance between land and sea. And Phoebe, calm and luminous, watched the future with quiet awareness, sensing paths not yet taken. Together, the Titans formed a peaceful and ordered cosmos. This age would later be remembered as the Golden Age. Not because of wealth or splendor, but because of balance and absence of suffering. There were no storms born of anger, no disasters shaped by pride. The universe moved gently, guided by natural rhythm rather than command. Even Gaia felt at peace. Her children walked freely upon her, their presence steady, their power restrained by wisdom. Yet deep within the quiet of this golden age, something subtle stirred. A shadow, not yet visible, but present. The prophecy spoken by Uranus had not been forgotten, only set aside. Cronus remembered it, though he rarely allowed the thought to linger. Time, which he embodied, moved forward regardless of fear. As ages passed, Cronus and Rhea grew closer. Their union was not born of desire for control, but of continuity. From them, new life would emerge. New gods, younger, more dynamic, carrying change within them. At first, this felt natural. The cycle of creation continued, as it always had. But with each passing age, Cronus began to feel something unfamiliar. Unease. Not in the present, but in the future. A quiet awareness that time never stands still and that no rule is eternal. For now, he pushed the feeling aside, allowing the world to remain peaceful. The Titans continued their gentle stewardship, unaware that the seeds of the next great change were already taking root. And so, the Golden Age stretched onward, bathed in soft light, guided by ancient hands. Unknowing, unhurried, and calm. As destiny waited patiently for its moment to awaken. The Golden Age and the gentle flow of time. The Golden Age of the Titans unfolded slowly, without announcement, without ceremony. It did not arrive with triumph or celebration. It simply was. Time flowed like a wide, quiet river, steady, unbroken, and endless. Under the rule of the Titans, the world knew balance. There were no sharp divisions, no struggles for power, no fear of loss. The earth provided generously, the waters flowed gently, the light warmed without burning. Everything moved in harmony, as if guided by an unseen rhythm. Cronus watched over this age with measured calm. He did not interfere unnecessarily, nor did he attempt to shape every moment. He understood time too well to force it. Instead, he allowed events to unfold naturally, trusting the order the Titans had created. Beside him, Rhea remained constant. She carried a nurturing presence, a soft strength that balanced Cronus's inevitability. Where time moved forward without mercy, she offered comfort, continuity, and care. Together, they embodied the rhythm of existence, the passing of moments, and the gentle promise of renewal. Across the world, the Titans tended to their domains. Oceanus circled the earth endlessly, his waters calm and sustaining, forming natural boundaries without confinement. His presence brought nourishment and quiet movement. Tessis guided fresh waters inward, rivers winding softly across the land, never violent, never destructive. These waters carried life, though life had not yet taken familiar form. Hyperion continued to shape light, introducing cycles of brightness and dimness, a soft prelude to day and night. Light was not yet harsh, nor was darkness frightening. Each simply followed the other, in gentle succession. Thea allowed brilliance to be perceived, granting clarity and quiet beauty to the world. Mnemosyne preserved memory, holding the past gently, ensuring that the flow of time left traces, rather than emptiness. Through her, experience gained meaning. Coeus maintained deep understanding, a steady awareness beneath all things, ensuring balance in the unseen structures of existence. Cronus continued to guide the stars, fixing slow patterns in the heavens, creating a sense of orientation and direction. The universe felt stable, as if it had found its perfect form. Yet within this perfection, time continued to move. And with time, change quietly approached. Cronus felt it first, not as fear, but as awareness. He sensed the passing of ages, the way moments accumulated, the inevitability of succession. He remembered Uranus's words, spoken long ago, echoing faintly in memory. A warning, not of violence, but of inevitability. That a son, born of his own blood, would one day rise and take his place. At first, Cronus dismissed the thought. Prophecies belonged to the future, and the present was peaceful. But as Rhea began to feel new life stirring within her, the unease returned. a subtle tightening, a quiet fear. The world remained calm, but within Cronus, something shifted. Time, which he governed, now turned its gaze upon him. With each child born, the future moved closer. Cronus watched carefully, listening for signs, seeking certainty where none could exist. Rhea felt his concern, but did not yet understand its depth. She trusted the natural cycle, birth, growth, renewal. To her, children were continuation, not threat. But to Cronus, they became reminders of change, of endings. Still, no action was taken. The Golden Age continued, its calm unbroken. The Titans remained united, their harmony intact. The universe drifted onward, unaware that a quiet fracture had begun to form deep within the ruler of time. And as ages passed, that fracture would widen, slowly, inevitably. As all things do, under the gentle and unstoppable flow of time. The first cracks in the Golden Age. For a long while, the Golden Age appeared unchanging. The world moved gently beneath the care of the Titans, its rhythm steady, its balance intact. Seasons passed softly, light followed darkness, and darkness returned to light. Nothing rushed, nothing resisted. Yet beneath this calm surface, subtle changes were taking place. Change does not always arrive with noise. Sometimes it arrives quietly, almost unnoticed. Cronus continued to rule, measured and composed. To the world, he was steady and dependable. But within him, time began to feel heavier. Each passing age reminded him that even gods are bound by cycles. And each new child born to him and Rhea brought that truth closer. The first child arrived gently, for present small, yet filled with potential. Cronus looked upon the child and felt the prophecy stir. Fear did not come as rage, nor as panic. It came as certainty, a certainty that time, which he embodied, would one day turn against him. And so, in a moment that would echo through eternity, Cronus acted, not with cruelty in his heart, but with desperation. He swallowed the child, returning it to darkness, believing that by halting succession, he could halt fate itself. Rhea felt the loss immediately, not as anger, but as deep sorrow. She did not yet resist, hoping the act was an anomaly, a moment of fear that would not be repeated. But it was. Each child that followed met the same fate. One by one, they were taken, hidden within Cronus. Their existence paused, but not ended. The Golden Age continued outwardly unchanged, yet something vital had shifted. Rhea grew quiet, her nurturing spirit wounded, her trust eroded. She carried life within her, only to see it disappear. The world still appeared peaceful, but beneath the surface, imbalance was growing. Gaia felt it. The earth always feels disruption first. She sensed the unnatural stilling of the cycle, the interruption of birth and renewal. Time, which should flow forward, had begun to fold inward. Gaia spoke to Rhea, softly, as she had once spoken to Cronus. She reminded her that cycles cannot be stopped, only delayed. That destiny resists confinement. And so, a plan began to form. Not of violence, but of preservation. When Rhea felt another child growing within her, she knew what must be done. Quietly, without alerting Cronus, she traveled far from his sight, to a hidden place. A cave, deep and still, where the world itself could conceal a secret. There she gave birth. This child, unlike the others, would be spared. Wrapped in stone and cloth, a deception prepared to protect the future. When Rhea returned to Cronus, she presented the stone, and Cronus, blind to deception in his fear, accepted it. Time moved on. The child was hidden, nurtured in silence, growing away from his father's gaze. The Golden Age, though still calm, was now fragile. The Titans remained unaware, their harmony intact, but their future uncertain. The cycle had been disrupted, but not destroyed. Fate had been delayed, not denied. And in a quiet cave, far from the halls of power, the seed of the next age continued to grow. Slowly, patiently, inevitably. As all things do, under the watchful flow of time. Cronus and the weight of fear, time continued to move, as it always does, steady and unyielding. Under the rule of Cronus, the world remained outwardly calm. The Golden Age still lingered, its surface untouched by visible conflict. The Titans continued their quiet stewardship, their harmony unbroken. Yet within Cronus, something had changed. The act of swallowing his children, though done in fear, left a heaviness behind. He felt it not as guilt, but as pressure. Time, which he embodied, now pressed inward, folding upon itself. Cronus ruled from a place of control, but control requires constant vigilance. He watched the world carefully, listening for signs of change, searching for disruption in the gentle flow of existence. Every passing age, every subtle shift felt like a warning. The prophecy spoken by Uranus had taken root in his mind. Though long ago, its echo remained. That a child, born of his own blood, would one day rise and end his rule. Cronus believed he had found a solution. By halting succession, by swallowing his children, he believed he had halted fate. Yet fate does not disappear. It waits. Rhea moved quietly beside him, her presence subdued, her nurturing spirit restrained. She no longer spoke freely of the future, nor of renewal. The bond between them, once steady and warm, had grown distant. Cronus sensed this distance, but interpreted it as necessary sacrifice. Peace, he believed, required harsh choices. The Titans continued to gather, their discussions calm, their duties unchanged. They did not question Cronus's actions, not because they approved, but because fear had not yet touched them. Power remained centralized, and the Golden Age still held. Yet Gaia watched. She had seen this pattern before. Uranus, once secure, once absolute, had also believed himself eternal. And now his son followed the same path. Gaia felt the strain in the fabric of time, the unnatural pause of succession. She knew that the cycle would resume, with or without Cronus's consent. Meanwhile, far from the halls of the Titans, in a quiet cave hidden from divine sight, a child grew. Zeus. He was raised in silence, nurtured by the earth itself. Nymphs tended to him, their movements gentle, their voices soft. The sounds of the world were kept distant, so that Cronus would not hear his cries. The child grew strong, not through force, but through patience. Milk, honey, and quiet care sustained him. As Zeus grew, so did his awareness. He felt the weight of destiny, though he did not yet understand it. Thunder rested within him, quiet and dormant, waiting. Time passed. Cronus continued to rule, believing his control absolute. Yet cracks widened beneath the surface. Rhea's silence deepened. Gaia's watchfulness intensified. The earth itself seemed to hold its breath, for time had not stopped. It had only delayed its next turn, and in that delay, the future was gathering strength. Zeus grew, hidden, protected, and learning. The child of prophecy, unknown to his father, was becoming the force that would reshape the world. But for now, the world remained calm, the golden age still intact, and Cronus unaware. As destiny waited patiently for the moment when time would move forward once more. The hidden growth of Zeus, far from the quiet halls of Cronus, far from the measured rule of the Titans, life continued to unfold in secrecy. In a cave carved deep within the earth, where stone held silence gently, the child Zeus grew. The cave was cool and still, its walls worn smooth by time itself. Light entered softly, filtered through narrow openings, never harsh, never sudden. Here, Zeus was safe. Nymphs moved quietly around him, their footsteps light, their voices low. They spoke in whispers, telling stories of the world beyond the cave, stories of earth and sky, of rivers and stars, of titans and time. To quiet the sound of the child's cries, they beat their shields softly, a rhythmic sound, like distant rain. The world itself seemed to protect him. Goats and gentle creatures provided nourishment, their presence calm and steady. Zeus grew not in isolation, but in harmony with nature. As he aged, strength came to him naturally, not the strength of force, but of balance and resilience. He learned patience, watching the slow movement of shadows across stone, listening to the quiet breath of the earth. Thunder slept within him, unawakened, like a storm resting beyond the horizon. Gaia watched closely. She felt his growth, felt the steady pulse of future change. She guided his development, not with commands, but with subtle influence. The child learned respect for cycles, for beginnings and endings, for the flow of time. Meanwhile, Cronus felt none of this. He ruled, confident in his control. The golden age continued outwardly unchanged, its surface calm and unbroken. But unease lingered within him. He felt time slipping, not away, but forward. Each age that passed, each quiet shift, reminded him that nothing remains still forever. He grew watchful, listening for disturbances, searching for signs of rebellion. Rhea remained distant, her sorrow hidden behind silence. She carried the knowledge of Zeus's survival, but revealed nothing. The Titans gathered as before, their unity intact. No one suspected the truth. And so, the cycle continued, hidden and patient. Zeus matured quietly. He learned the stories of his siblings, of those swallowed by Cronus, their existence paused within time. He felt compassion and resolve. Not anger, not haste, but understanding. Change, he knew, must come at the right moment. As Zeus grew, the storm within him stirred. Thunder whispered softly, a distant echo, felt more than heard. The earth seemed to respond, vibrating gently, as if recognizing her future guardian. The sky above, still distant, still silent, waited. Time passed in long, gentle waves. Cronus ruled, unaware. Zeus prepared, unknowing of fear. The universe balanced on the edge of transition, though no one yet felt the shift. Everything remained calm, still, and patient. As destiny continued to move, slowly, inevitably. The quiet turning of fate, time does not announce when it turns. It shifts quietly, almost gently, like a slow breath taken in the dark. As Zeus reached maturity, the stillness of the Golden Age began to change, not outwardly, but beneath the surface. He no longer felt like a hidden child, but like a presence, rooted and aware. The cave that had sheltered him now felt smaller, not confining, but complete. Zeus listened to the world beyond, to the distant movement of wind, to the slow turning of stars. He felt the pull of destiny, not as command, but as invitation. Gaia spoke to him, not in words, but in feeling. She reminded him of cycles, of balance, of the cost of stopping time. She told him of his siblings, resting within Cronus, neither alive nor gone, waiting. Zeus felt compassion first, then resolve. Not to destroy, but to restore. Change, he understood, was not violence, but continuation. Meanwhile, Cronus felt the world shifting. Subtle signs appeared. The air felt heavier, time less predictable. Moments seemed to slip past him, faster than before. He grew restless, pacing through his realm, seeking certainty. He questioned Gaia, but the earth remained silent. He watched Rhea more closely, sensing distance, but finding no proof. Fear began to guide his thoughts, where wisdom once had. Yet even now, he did not know. Zeus stepped beyond the cave for the first time, feeling the open sky above him. Uranus, still distant, still watchful, felt the presence of his grandson. The sky stirred, ever so slightly. Zeus felt thunder awaken within him, not loud, not violent, but alive. It waited, patient and contained. Gaia guided Zeus toward his next step. Not confrontation, not war, but deception. For time itself often changes course through subtlety. Zeus prepared to approach Cronus, not as a challenger, but as servant. A quiet plan took shape, one that would free his siblings, without force. The Golden Age, now fragile, stood on the brink of transition. Cronus continued to rule, believing his control complete. But fate had moved past him. The cycle he sought to stop was already turning. The earth held her breath. The sky watched. Time advanced. And in the space between moments, the future prepared to step forward. Not with noise, not with chaos, but with inevitability. The Golden Age in quiet light, with the hidden child growing strong, and the threads of fate slowly moving forward, the world continued in quiet harmony. The Golden Age, though now subtly fragile, remained outwardly serene. The Titans ruled their domains with calm authority, each in gentle balance with the earth, the sky, and the waters that circled the world. Cronus, unaware of the child growing in secret, continued to oversee the order of the cosmos. He measured each day carefully, watched the stars as they slowly turned, and listened to the soft rhythms of the earth. Even in his unease, he did not disturb the universe's calm flow. He believed that by controlling succession, by swallowing his children, he had preserved the harmony of all things. And outwardly, he was correct. The rivers flowed without turbulence. The ocean circled the earth in steady motion. The winds whispered gently through forests that had not yet been shaped by mortal hands. The sun, guided by Hyperion and Thea, spread its warm light evenly across the lands. The moon and stars, guided by Cronus, rotated with slow precision that could soothe any restless mind. The earth herself, Gaia, breathed quietly beneath them all. She felt the stillness, yet beneath that stillness, she could sense the subtle rhythms of change. The world had learned patience. Everything moved in slow, careful waves. Even time seemed to linger. Among the Titans, some began to reflect quietly on the weight of eternity. They were ancient beings, after all, capable of observing centuries without weariness. They saw the rising and falling of cosmic cycles, the slow shaping of the universe, and yet, in this golden age, they felt serenity. Rhea moved among them, nurturing silently. Her presence softened the gravity of the moment. Even Cronus, stern and vigilant, felt a quiet comfort in her calmness. She spoke little, but each word carried reassurance. Her voice was not loud, it was a gentle current that spread quietly through the hearts of the Titans. And far below, in a hidden cave, Zeus continued to grow. His muscles strengthened, his mind sharpened by quiet observation. Every rustle of leaves, every trickle of water, every soft whisper of the wind taught him patience, awareness, and control. He felt the earth beneath him, the sky above him, and a quiet, growing power within himself that waited for the right moment to awaken. Even Oceanus, flowing endlessly around the edges of the world, seemed aware of the subtle shift in the universe. His waters were calm, but within their depth, he sensed the undercurrent of change, soft, slow, and patient, yet undeniably present. For now, though, the world remained still. No cries of battle pierced the skies. No storms tore across the lands. No violent earthquakes shook the foundations of the earth. Everything moved as if in a dream, soft, gentle, and reassuring. And this quiet, this golden light that seemed to touch every corner of existence, was the perfect backdrop for the slow unfolding of destiny. It allowed the young Zeus to grow in strength and understanding, allowed Cronus to rule without suspicion, and allowed the Titans to fulfill their gentle duties without haste or interruption. Even the passage of time itself felt softer. Moments lingered longer. A single sunset could last a heartbeat or a century. Stars rose and fell in perfect sequence. Rivers circled mountains without rushing. The earth exhaled slowly, and the sky listened. Yet, beneath this serene surface, the universe was preparing for something profound. A shift, a turning, an awakening. It would not be loud. It would not be violent. But it would be inevitable. And as the hidden child grew stronger, as Gaia and Rhea watched patiently, the seeds of a new age were quietly taking root. An age that would bring change to Cronus, to the Titans, and to the world itself. Whispers of change in the Golden Age. Though the Golden Age remained outwardly peaceful, subtle currents of change began to move beneath the surface. Cronus continued to rule, his presence commanding yet steady. He watched the heavens, listened to the oceans, and measured the slow turning of the stars. To the world, he seemed eternal, unyielding, and calm. But within him, a quiet tension had begun to grow. The prophecy of Uranus lingered like a soft shadow, unseen by others, felt only as a faint tightening in the chest, a reminder that even time itself moves forward, and nothing lasts forever. Rhea, ever gentle, noticed the change. Her nurturing spirit remained constant, but she felt the need for caution. She moved quietly through the halls of Gaia, touching the earth and whispering soft encouragements to her children, reminding them that the cycle of life is patient and that all things unfold in their proper time. Far from the gaze of Cronus, the hidden child Zeus continued to grow. Each day brought a gentle awakening of strength, a deepening of awareness, and a soft connection to the world around him. The cave that sheltered him became a place of calm learning, where every sound, every flicker of light, taught him patience, balance, and observation. Nymphs moved quietly in and out of the cave, their footsteps light as the breeze, their voices soft and melodic. They told stories of the world above, of the mountains, rivers, and forests that stretched endlessly, and of the Titans, who ruled with calm authority. Zeus listened carefully, absorbing the rhythm of the world and the patterns of the past and present. Even the wind seemed to carry lessons for him, softly whispering secrets through the trees and across the hills. The waters of ocean encircled the world below, their movement steady and slow, reflecting the gentle inevitability of time. The earth herself, Gaia, hummed quietly beneath him, a deep, resonant vibration that reminded him of his purpose. The Golden Age appeared unbroken. The Titans fulfilled their duties with patience and care. Oceanus nurtured the seas. Tessis guided the rivers. Hyperion and Thea maintained the rhythm of light. Mnemosyne preserved memory, ensuring that nothing of importance would be lost. Cronus aligned the stars in gentle patterns, and Coeus maintained the deep understanding of the cosmos. All moved in quiet harmony, yet the universe held its breath, awaiting the turning of events. Even as tranquility reigned, the undercurrent of destiny continued to stir. Cronus felt only a vague unease, not realizing that the cycle he had tried to stop was already gathering momentum. Each moment that passed in quiet repetition brought the hidden child closer to the day when he would step from secrecy into action. Time, which Cronus sought to command, was patient and relentless. It flowed quietly around him, unseen but inevitable. The universe prepared for a shift, like a slow tide approaching the shore, gentle in sound but unstoppable in force. And within this calm, within this soft and measured golden age, the first hints of the new order began to appear. Not in anger, not in sudden action, but in subtle growth and quiet strength. Zeus absorbed it all. The winds, the earth, the soft currents of water, and the whispered stories of nymphs, all shaped him. He was learning not to rush, not to resist, but to wait for the right moment when destiny itself would call. The Golden Age, though outwardly serene, was beginning to bend ever so slightly. The delicate threads of fate, which Cronus believed he had tied securely, had begun to loosen. And the quiet turning of destiny was a sound only the earth and Zeus could feel. In this calm, patient space, the universe waited for the first ripple of change to gently awaken the cycle of succession once more. The first ripples of destiny, time moved quietly, like a gentle stream weaving through the rocks of existence. The Golden Age remained outwardly serene, yet beneath the calm, subtle changes were beginning to flow. Cronus continued to rule with measured authority. He appeared eternal, his presence steady as the earth beneath his feet. But within him, the weight of fear had grown, quietly pressing, like the first hint of a storm on a still day. The prophecy of Uranus lingered always, though it was distant, almost imperceptible. Rhea remained near, gentle and patient. She watched the passage of time, felt the growth of her hidden child, and guided the rhythm of life quietly. Her movements were deliberate, never rushed, each step taken with care, as if she were shaping the future with soft hands. Far from the gaze of Cronus, Zeus continued to grow within the hidden cave. He felt the slow pull of destiny, like a river moving beneath the surface of the earth. The winds whispered to him, the waters of Oceanus circled the distant world, and Gaia hummed her quiet song through the stone beneath his feet. He absorbed these lessons without effort, learning patience, awareness, and the rhythm of power without ever raising his voice. The nymphs who cared for him moved as quietly as shadows. Their stories were soft songs, carrying the weight of history and the promise of what was to come. Zeus listened carefully, allowing the patterns of the world to settle deep into his mind. He did not yet act, but the storm within him, the promise of thunder, stirred gently, like a slow heartbeat echoing in the cavern. Above, the Titans continued their work, their roles measured and deliberate. Oceanus guided the oceans with steady patience. Tessis nurtured rivers and springs, watching as waters moved across the earth in quiet arcs. Hyperion and Thea maintained the cycle of light, the soft flow of day and night without disruption. Mnemosyne preserved memory, holding the stories of ages past like delicate threads, ensuring that no knowledge was lost. Coeus and Crius continued to maintain balance in the cosmos, their vigilance quiet but unbroken. Yet beneath the surface, the threads of fate began to ripple. The hidden child, growing strong and wise, was a force Cronus could not yet perceive. Even the steady hand of time could not hold back the gentle unfolding of destiny. Change was not violent here, it moved slowly. Deliberately, like the tide brushing softly against the shore. Cronus, meanwhile, felt only the faintest disturbances. A slight unease, a soft tension that he could not explain. The world seemed unchanged, and yet something imperceptible had begun. The child he thought he had swallowed was alive, hidden from his sight, and learning the rhythm of power that could one day challenge him. Rhea watched silently, her heart calm but her mind alert. She knew that the time would come when the cycle of succession must continue. Until then, she nurtured quietly, carried hope within her, and allowed the universe to breathe. The earth, Gaia, remained patient. She felt every movement of her hidden child, every subtle shift in the balance of the golden age. She whispered guidance in the softest way, through the vibration of stone and soil, through the hush of winds and waters. The world itself seemed to pause in anticipation, holding its breath as destiny began its gentle course. And so the golden age continued, its outward serenity unbroken. The Titans remained unaware of the quiet revolution forming in secret. Time continued its slow, measured flow. Moments lingered, and the universe waited. For the first ripple of change had already begun. And one day, not with anger or violence, but with inevitability and patience, Zeus would rise. The world would feel the turning of fate, softly at first, like the first whisper of wind before a storm. Yet that gentle whisper would grow, bringing the long-awaited balance, and setting the stage for a new age that would quietly, inevitably, unfold. The hidden child prepares, the golden age still stretched across the world, its surface serene, gentle, and unbroken. The Titans continued their quiet stewardship, moving through the universe with calm assurance. The oceans flowed steadily, the rivers curved gently across the land, and the soft light of day and night circled the earth in perfect rhythm. Yet far from the halls of power, in the hidden depths of a quiet cave, Zeus continued to grow, slowly, deliberately, guided by patience and the subtle lessons of the world. Every sound, every movement of the earth, every ripple of wind or water taught him balance and control. He learned not to act hastily, to listen before speaking, to measure before moving. Strength without patience is brittle, he realized. Power without understanding is like a storm without direction. The nymphs who nurtured him moved quietly, their soft footsteps blending with the faint hum of the cave. They told him stories of the Titans, of their domains and duties, of their careful rule over the earth and sky. And they told him of his siblings, those who had been swallowed by Cronus, hidden from the world, yet not gone. Zeus listened, absorbing their words slowly, like water soaking into the soil. He did not feel anger, not yet. He felt understanding. He felt the rhythm of the world and the inevitability of change. Outside the cave, the earth remained calm. Gaia's presence surrounded him, her whispers carried through stone and soil. She guided him without words, a gentle pressure beneath his feet, a subtle pulse in the air. The earth itself taught him patience, reminding him that even the strongest river begins as a quiet trickle. Above, the distant sky remained silent, its vastness undisturbed. Uranus, though far away, seemed to sense the quiet awakening of his grandson. The stars held their soft positions, as if waiting for the moment when Zeus would step into his role. Within this calm, hidden world, Zeus began to understand the nature of power. It is not only the strength of arms or the sharpness of mind, but the quiet discipline of restraint. It is the patience to wait for the right time, the wisdom to know when to act, and the humility to respect the forces around you. Each day, he practiced control. He lifted stones, listened to the water's flow, and learned to predict the wind's soft movements. Thunder slept within him, dormant, unbroken, yet alive. He could feel it deep inside, as a slow heartbeat echoing in the cavern. A storm waiting to awaken. Meanwhile, Cronus remained unaware. He ruled the Golden Age with steady authority, believing himself unchallenged. He watched the earth, measured the oceans and rivers, and counted the stars in the sky. The prophecy of Uranus still lingered faintly in his mind, but he dismissed it, believing that control over succession would prevent any disturbance. Rhea watched quietly as well. Her heart carried the memory of lost children, but she bore it calmly. She moved through the Titan's halls without revealing her knowledge. Her wisdom told her that the child hidden in the cave would bring the next turning of fate in the right moment. And so the universe remained calm. The Golden Age, though subtly fragile, continued outwardly serene. Time flowed slowly. The ocean circled the earth. Rivers curved softly. The stars and the sun moved in steady rhythm. And yet, a quiet tension had begun. It was invisible to all but the earth and Zeus. The first threads of destiny were weaving themselves into the hidden child's life. Patient, slow, and gentle, they were preparing him for the inevitable moment when the cycle of the Titans would begin to turn. The world waited, quietly, softly, as destiny stirred in the hidden cave. The hidden child prepares, the golden age still stretched across the world, its surface serene, gentle, and unbroken. The Titans continued their quiet stewardship, moving through the universe with calm assurance. The oceans flowed steadily, the rivers curved gently across the land, and the soft light of day and night circled the earth in perfect rhythm. Yet far from the halls of power, in the hidden depths of a quiet cave, Zeus continued to grow, slowly, deliberately, guided by patience and the subtle lessons of the world. Every sound, every movement of the earth, every ripple of wind or water taught him balance and control. He learned not to act hastily, to listen before speaking, to measure before moving. Strength without patience is brittle, he realized. Power without understanding is like a storm without direction. The nymphs who nurtured him moved quietly, their soft footsteps blending with the faint hum of the cave. They told him stories of the Titans, of their domains and duties, of their careful rule over the earth and sky. And they told him of his siblings, those who had been swallowed by Cronus, hidden from the world, yet not gone. Zeus listened, absorbing their words slowly, like water soaking into the soil. He did not feel anger, not yet. He felt understanding. He felt the rhythm of the world and the inevitability of change. Outside the cave, the earth remained calm. Gaia's presence surrounded him, her whispers carried through stone and soil. She guided him without words, a gentle pressure beneath his feet, a subtle pulse in the air. The earth itself taught him patience, reminding him that even the strongest river begins as a quiet trickle. Above, the distant sky remained silent, its vastness undisturbed. Uranus, though far away, seemed to sense the quiet awakening of his grandson. The stars held their soft positions, as if waiting for the moment when Zeus would step into his role. Within this calm, hidden world, Zeus began to understand the nature of power. It is not only the strength of arms or the sharpness of mind, but the quiet discipline of restraint. It is the patience to wait for the right time, the wisdom to know when to act, and the humility to respect the forces around you. Each day, he practiced control. He lifted stones, listened to the water's flow, and learned to predict the wind's soft movements. Thunder slept within him, dormant, unbroken, yet alive. He could feel it deep inside, as a slow heartbeat echoing in the cavern. A storm waiting to awaken. Meanwhile, Cronus remained unaware. He ruled the Golden Age with steady authority, believing himself unchallenged. He watched the earth, measured the oceans and rivers, and counted the stars in the sky. The prophecy of Uranus still lingered faintly in his mind, but he dismissed it, believing that control over succession would prevent any disturbance. Rhea watched quietly as well. Her heart carried the memory of lost children, but she bore it calmly. She moved through the Titan's halls without revealing her knowledge. Her wisdom told her that the child hidden in the cave would bring the next turning of fate in the right moment. And so the universe remained calm. The Golden Age, though subtly fragile, continued outwardly serene. Time flowed slowly. The ocean circled the earth. Rivers curved softly. The stars and the sun moved in steady rhythm. And yet, a quiet tension had begun. It was invisible to all but the earth and Zeus. The first threads of destiny were weaving themselves into the hidden child's life. Patient, slow, and gentle, they were preparing him for the inevitable moment when the cycle of the Titans would begin to turn. The world waited, quietly, softly, as destiny stirred in the hidden cave. The stirring of the hidden power. In the quiet cave, Zeus grew with each passing day. The soft rhythm of the world around him taught him patience, discipline, and awareness. He learned to move with the flow of life, to observe before acting, and to measure his strength with care. Even the faintest sound of dripping water, or the soft rustle of leaves above, became lessons in timing, balance, and control. The nymphs who tended him spoke softly of his siblings, the children swallowed by Cronus. They described each one gently, telling him of their stillness and the quiet hope that lingered within them. Zeus listened carefully, not with anger, but with understanding. He felt the weight of what had been taken, and the responsibility of what he would one day restore. Gaia's presence surrounded him. Her whispers flowed through the stones of the cave, through the roots and soil, through the soft pulse of the earth itself. She guided him without urgency, teaching him the rhythms of growth, the gentle unfolding of time, and the importance of quiet patience. Even the winds outside the cave seemed to speak to him, moving softly through the trees, carrying faint hints of distant events and the slow, inevitable turning of destiny. The waters of ocean encircled the earth below, steady, unbroken, calm. Their constant flow reminded him that life moves forward even when hidden, that strength accumulates quietly, unseen. Inside him, the power of thunder slept. It was calm and contained, like a storm resting in the distant horizon, waiting for the right moment to awaken. Zeus felt it in the depths of his chest, a slow heartbeat resonating with the rhythm of the world. He knew that one day, this power would be called upon, and that it would be his alone to release. Outside, the Golden Age continued. Cronus ruled without suspicion, believing the world under his control remained secure. He observed the earth, the sky, the movements of the oceans and rivers, and counted the stars. Each day seemed predictable, each moment flowing smoothly into the next. The prophecy of Uranus still whispered faintly at the edges of his mind, but he dismissed it as distant and irrelevant. Rhea, quiet and watchful, continued to move among the Titans. She spoke little of her hidden child, and yet her calm carried the knowledge of the coming shift. She knew that the child in the cave was preparing, slowly and quietly, for the day when he would restore the cycle of succession. The world itself seemed to anticipate this change. The forests whispered softly, the rivers curved gently, and the oceans pulsed steadily around the earth. Even the stars in the night sky seemed to shimmer with subtle patterns, as if signaling the quiet approach of destiny. Every day, Zeus trained in silence. He practiced lifting stones, feeling the weight without strain, moving water in his mind, listening to the rhythm of its flow. He observed the passage of clouds across the sky, the movement of the sun and moon, and the turning of the distant stars. He learned the flow of time itself, and the balance of all things within it. Though the Golden Age remained outwardly unbroken, beneath the surface, the first ripples of change had begun. The cycle of succession, once interrupted by fear, was now quietly preparing to resume. And Zeus, hidden yet vigilant, was becoming the force that would guide it. The cave was his sanctuary, but it was also his training ground. Every day brought him closer to the moment when he would step into the wider world. And the world waited, softly, gently, as the quiet turning of fate approached. The first quiet challenge, time moved slowly, like a river flowing beneath a silent sky. The Golden Age stretched across the world, its surface calm and serene. The Titans continued their gentle stewardship, their actions measured, deliberate, and unhurried. The ocean circled the earth without turbulence, the rivers curved smoothly across the land, and light from Hyperion and Thea moved softly over the world. Yet in a hidden cave, Zeus, the child of prophecy, was reaching the age when he could feel the weight of destiny. Not with anger, not with haste, but with quiet understanding. The lessons of the earth, the winds, and the waters had taught him patience, balance, and awareness. The thunder within him slept still, but he could feel its soft pulse, a heartbeat in rhythm with the quiet motion of the universe. The nymphs whispered stories softly, reminding him of his siblings and the quiet imprisonment within Cronus. Zeus absorbed each story like the gentle rain soaking into deep soil. He did not feel a rush to act. He only felt the inevitability of what must come. Outside, the world seemed unchanged. Cronus ruled with steady vigilance, believing that by swallowing his children he had halted the cycle of succession. The prophecy of Uranus remained only as a faint shadow in his mind. He trusted that control alone would keep the order unbroken. But even in his vigilance, subtle signs began to ripple through the cosmos. The earth beneath him shifted ever so gently, and the winds carried hints of movement that could not yet be seen. The oceans, normally endless in their rhythm, held a faint hesitation in their flow. Even the distant stars seemed to shimmer with anticipation, as if aware that a new hand was preparing to guide the future. Within the cave, Zeus began to prepare his first quiet act. Not an attack, not a declaration of war, but a gentle test of the world's response. He understood that power without timing could break before it built. So he moved slowly, deliberately, practicing control, measuring his influence, and learning the gentle art of unseen strength. Every day, he lifted stones, feeling their weight, moving them without effort, listening to the earth respond. He directed streams of water with subtle gestures, guiding them through intricate paths without disturbing their natural flow. Even the air obeyed, moving softly at his command, like a whisper of intention carried. On the wind. The quiet of the Golden Age allowed him to grow without alerting Cronus. The Titans, immersed in their own duties, remained unaware of the preparation taking place. The balance of the world seemed unbroken, yet beneath the surface, a gentle tension was building. Rhea watched quietly from afar. Her heart carried hope for the restoration of her children. She moved among the Titans, her presence calm and unobtrusive. No one could guess that the hidden child was growing, or that the first steps of destiny were already being taken. And so the world remained outwardly serene, its rivers flowing softly, its forests swaying gently, its ocean circling endlessly. Yet beneath this calm, Zeus's presence was already stirring the quiet threads of fate. He practiced restraint, observation, and understanding. He was learning how to act without haste, how to prepare without force, and how to awaken the cycle of succession without disturbing the delicate balance of the Golden Age too soon. Time flowed, patient and measured. Destiny moved gently, quietly guiding the hidden child toward the inevitable moment. The first ripple of change had begun, soft as a whisper, yet undeniable in its persistence. And as the earth held her breath, as the sky watched in silent patience, the world waited for the day when Zeus would take his first gentle step toward freeing his siblings and reshaping the order of the cosmos. The quiet stirring of rebellion, the Golden Age continued its gentle course, stretching over the world like a soft, warm light. The Titans maintained their duties carefully, their movements deliberate, their presence serene. The oceans flowed steadily, the rivers wound softly through the land, and the sunlight moved gradually across the forests and hills, touching the earth in quiet, measured patterns. Yet beneath this calm, the first whispers of change began to stir. Far from the eyes of Cronus, Zeus, the hidden child of prophecy, had grown in strength and understanding. His training in the quiet cave had shaped him with patience, balance, and awareness. He had learned the rhythm of the earth, the flow of water, and the subtle guidance of wind. He understood that power is not only strength, but also restraint, timing, and perception. The nymphs continued to care for him with soft footsteps and gentle voices. They reminded him of his siblings, still hidden within Cronus, waiting silently for the cycle of succession to resume. Zeus listened carefully, absorbing each story slowly, learning not only what had been lost, but also what must be restored. The thunder within him stirred faintly, a soft heartbeat echoing in rhythm with the earth. It was not violent or loud, but steady, quiet, and persistent, like a distant storm resting on the horizon. Zeus felt its presence, knowing that one day it would awaken to mark the turning of the world. Outside, the world remained outwardly unchanged. Cronus ruled with his usual vigilance, believing the swallowing of his children had halted any threat to his reign. He watched the oceans, the stars, the rivers, and counted the passage of days with careful attention. The prophecy of Uranus lingered faintly in his mind, but he convinced himself it was irrelevant, believing that control over succession was absolute. Rhea, quiet and patient, moved among the Titans with calm assurance. She carried the secret of Zeus's survival, trusting that the child would awaken at the proper time. She did not speak of rebellion or strategy, only of guidance, letting the currents of fate move naturally. The earth itself seemed to sense the slow turning of destiny. Gaia whispered through stone and soil, through roots and rivers, through every soft pulse of life. She encouraged patience, reminding Zeus that the right moment is never rushed, and that quiet observation is the truest form of preparation. Zeus spent his days in practice and observation. He lifted stones and moved them without effort, feeling the response of the earth beneath his hands. He traced the flow of water in gentle arcs, learning how to guide it without force. He listened to the rhythm of the wind, following its subtle changes. Each day, each small movement, taught him discipline, control, and the gentle art of unseen power. Even the stars above seemed to shimmer differently, their light soft and patient, as if reflecting the quiet preparation taking place below. The Golden Age, though outwardly unbroken, was now a stage for subtle shifts. The threads of fate, invisible to the Titans, were weaving themselves into motion. Cronus, unaware of the growing strength of the hidden child, felt only a faint restlessness. The world appeared calm, yet something he could not measure was beginning to change. He trusted his control, yet the subtle pressure of destiny was slowly approaching him, like a gentle tide rising beneath the surface. Zeus, in his quiet cavern, felt the first stirrings of action. Not through force or confrontation, but through understanding and patience. He prepared himself for the day when he would begin to restore the balance, to awaken his siblings, and to guide the cycle of the Titans toward its inevitable continuation. And so the world waited, softly, gently, with bated breath, as the hidden child honed his strength, listened to the earth, and learned the quiet art of timing. The Golden Age continued its calm rhythm, even as destiny moved slowly, inevitably, toward the first quiet ripple of rebellion. The hidden movements of power. Time flowed gently across the Golden Age, stretching the skies, rivers, and forests in soft, unbroken rhythm. The Titans moved through their duties with measured care, their actions deliberate, their presence serene. The earth hummed softly beneath them, and the ocean circled endlessly, reflecting the quiet, steady light of day and night. Yet, in a hidden cave far from their sight, Zeus, the child of prophecy, continued his careful preparation. The nymphs who nurtured him spoke only in whispers, soft and melodic, allowing the lessons of patience and understanding to flow naturally into his growing mind. Zeus practiced the art of quiet influence. He moved stones with deliberate care, feeling the earth respond beneath his hands. He guided the flow of water gently, allowing it to follow natural paths while subtly shaping its course. He listened to the wind, not forcing it, but learning to predict its movements, to feel the patterns that governed its flow. Each action, no matter how small, taught him discipline. Each day, he became more aware of the interconnectedness of the world, of how even the faintest touch could ripple outward if guided with wisdom. Strength without understanding was meaningless, he realized, and patience was the true measure of power. The thunder within him remained dormant, a gentle pulse echoing deep in his chest. It was calm, restrained, like a storm resting behind distant clouds. Zeus felt its presence as a heartbeat, steady and slow, reminding him that all preparation takes time and that the right moment cannot be rushed. Outside, the world appeared unchanging. Cronus continued to rule with careful vigilance, believing his actions had secured the cycle of succession. He watched the stars, the rivers, and the turning of the heavens, trusting in his control. The prophecy of Uranus lingered faintly, but he dismissed it, believing that the swallowing of his children had stopped destiny in its tracks. Rhea moved quietly among the Titans, her calm presence guiding them subtly. She knew that Zeus was growing in secret, and that the quiet preparation of her child was the first step toward restoring balance. She spoke little, allowing time to move at its gentle pace, trusting in the inevitability of the cycle. Even the earth seemed to sense the subtle movements of change. Gaia whispered through stone and soil, through roots and rivers, through the soft pulse of life itself. She encouraged patience, reminding Zeus that timing is as important as strength, and that quiet observation is the truest form of preparation. Each day, Zeus tested his abilities. He lifted heavier stones, not for display of strength, but to understand how the earth bore his weight. He moved streams of water through intricate paths, learning to guide without disrupting, to influence without forcing. He felt the currents of the oceans in his mind, the subtle pulse of the winds, and the slow turning of the distant stars. Though outwardly the Golden Age remained unbroken, beneath the surface, the first threads of rebellion were quietly weaving themselves. The cycle of succession, interrupted by fear, was slowly preparing to resume. Zeus, hidden and patient, was becoming the instrument of that change. Cronus, unaware of the quiet awakening, felt only the faintest hints of unease. The world appeared calm, yet the first ripples of destiny were beginning to reach him, though he could not yet perceive them. Even his vigilance could not hold back the gentle approach of inevitability. Zeus, in his cave, continued his preparation. Each movement, each lesson, each soft ripple of influence brought him closer to the moment when he would step into the wider world. The Golden Age, outwardly serene, was becoming the stage for the first subtle turning of fate. And so, the universe waited, softly, gently, as the hidden child honed his strength, listened to the earth, and allowed the quiet movements of destiny to take their first gentle form. Golden Age stretched quietly across the world, its rivers winding smoothly, its forests swaying gently in the breeze, and its ocean circling without turbulence. The Titans moved gracefully through their duties, their presence calm and deliberate, their actions measured like the slow beat of time itself. Yet beneath this serene surface, the first subtle ripples of change were beginning to form. Far from the gaze of Cronus, Zeus, the hidden child of prophecy, had grown strong, aware, and patient. Every lesson of the earth, the winds, and the waters was now deeply rooted within him, shaping his mind, his body, and the quiet storm within his chest. He understood that power is not only force, but the careful balance of strength, patience, and timing. The thunder inside him pulsed gently, a calm heartbeat echoing with the rhythm of the world, waiting for the precise moment when it would rise to guide the turning of fate. The nymphs whispered softly, reminding him of his siblings still hidden within Cronus, waiting patiently for the cycle of succession to continue. Zeus absorbed their words like gentle rain, not with anger, not with haste, but with understanding. He felt the weight of what had been lost, and the responsibility of what must be restored. The earth itself seemed aware of this quiet preparation. Gaia whispered through stone and soil, through roots, rivers, and soft pulses of life. Her guidance was never rushed, never forceful, but steady and patient. Zeus listened to her, learning that the true measure of power is not the speed of action, but the wisdom to act at the right time. Outside, the world remained outwardly unchanged. Cronus ruled with careful vigilance, trusting that swallowing his children had halted the threat of succession. He measured the oceans, watched the stars, counted the days, and reassured himself that control was complete. Yet, faintly, a subtle tension began to brush against the edges of his awareness, though he could not yet name it. Rhea remained quiet among the Titans, her heart carrying the memory of lost children, her mind calm yet vigilant. She knew the hidden child was preparing, that the quiet moments of training were shaping the force that would restore balance. She spoke little, allowing time to move naturally, trusting that patience is the surest guide. Zeus continued his practice in silence. He lifted stones, moved streams of water in intricate paths, and felt the flow of air and ocean in his mind. Each movement was deliberate, each lesson absorbed slowly, until his control of the natural world was as soft as a whisper and as precise as the turning of the stars. Though outwardly the Golden Age remained unbroken, beneath its surface, destiny had begun to stir. The first subtle movements of rebellion, quiet as the pulse of the earth, were forming around the hidden child. The cycle of succession, interrupted by fear, was slowly preparing to continue. Cronus felt only a faint unease. He believed the world remained under his control, but the gentle currents of fate were slipping past him, like soft waves rising silently under a calm sea. Even his vigilance could not halt the approach of inevitability. Zeus, hidden yet aware, was readying himself for the first gentle steps that would awaken the cycle of destiny. Not with violence, not with haste, but with quiet, deliberate influence. Every action, every movement, every lesson of patience was shaping him into the force the world had been waiting for. And so, the Golden Age continued outwardly serene, while beneath its calm, Zeus honed his strength, listened to the earth, and allowed the soft, inevitable movements of fate to take root. The first ripples of change had begun, quietly, gently, as destiny prepared its patient course. The quiet signs of change, the Golden Age stretched endlessly across the world, its rivers winding in gentle curves, its forests swaying softly in the breeze, and its oceans circling quietly around the earth. The Titans moved gracefully through their duties, their presence calm and deliberate, their actions measured like the slow heartbeat of time itself. Yet, beneath this tranquil surface, subtle ripples of change began to stir. In the hidden cave far from the gaze of Cronus, Zeus, the child of prophecy, had grown stronger, aware of his surroundings and deeply attuned to the world around him. Every sound, every movement of the earth, every faint ripple in the water, taught him patience, observation, and control. The thunder within him remained calm and dormant, a gentle heartbeat echoing in time with the rhythm of the universe. It reminded him that the greatest power was not in haste or violence, but in quiet preparation and measured action. The nymphs who tended him moved with soft footsteps, their whispers carrying lessons of balance, wisdom, and restraint. They reminded him of his siblings still hidden inside Cronus, and of the inevitability of destiny. Zeus listened carefully, absorbing every story, every subtle detail, not with anger or impatience, but with understanding, focus, and calm determination. Even the earth itself seemed to sense the first quiet stirrings of change. Gaia whispered through the stones and soil, through roots and rivers, through the soft pulse of life. She reminded him that all growth takes time, that all great strength begins small and gentle, and that the universe moves in rhythms far larger than any single being. The winds above carried faint hints of movement, soft and imperceptible, like the prelude to a gentle storm. They brushed the trees and grass, and their whispers reached the ears of Zeus, teaching him the timing of action, the way subtle forces can influence the world without breaking its balance. Outside, Cronus remained unaware. He ruled the Golden Age with careful vigilance, believing that swallowing his children had secured his reign. He measured the oceans, watched the stars, and counted the passage of days, trusting that control would keep destiny paused. Yet even he could feel a faint unease, like a soft vibration beneath his feet, though he could not name its source. Rhea moved quietly among the Titans, her presence calm and comforting. She carried the memory of lost children, but her heart was patient and knowing. She understood that Zeus was growing in secret, that he was learning the quiet lessons of patience, control, and timing. She spoke little, allowing time itself to shape the hidden child, trusting the natural flow of destiny. Zeus spent his days in quiet practice. He lifted stones carefully, feeling the earth respond beneath his hands. He moved water in gentle, deliberate arcs, learning how to guide without forcing, to influence without disrupting. He observed the movement of clouds across the sky, the gentle turning of the sun and moon, and the rhythm of the distant stars. Every small action became a lesson, every ripple a teacher of control and precision. The Golden Age remained outwardly unbroken. The Titans moved as always, their duties uninterrupted, their harmony unshaken. But the first subtle threads of rebellion were weaving quietly, invisible to all but the earth and Zeus. Cronus, confident in his control, felt only a faint brush of tension, a whisper of something he could not perceive. He reassured himself that the world remained safe, unaware that the quiet movements of fate were slowly circling him, like soft currents beneath a calm sea. Zeus, in his hidden cavern, was readying himself for the first gentle signs of change. Not with violence, not with confrontation, but with careful, deliberate observation and soft, precise influence. The threads of destiny were moving, quietly, imperceptibly, as the first ripple of defiance began to spread. And so, the Golden Age continued outwardly serene, while beneath the calm, Zeus honed his strength, listened to the earth, and began the gentle unfolding of destiny. The first signs of change were here, soft, patient, and inevitable, like the first light of dawn brushing across the horizon. Gentle testing of power. The hidden cave was filled with quiet energy, soft shadows stretching across the stone walls, and the faint light of day slipping through small openings above. Zeus moved carefully through the space, each gesture deliberate, measured, and mindful. He was learning not only the strength of his limbs, but the quiet power of influence, the subtle way the world responds to a hand guided by patience and awareness. Water flowed gently through small channels carved in the cave floor, and Zeus practiced guiding it, bending its path without disturbing its natural rhythm. The gentle currents responded to his soft command, twisting, turning, and pooling exactly where he intended. It was a lesson in patience, a quiet reminder that true power flows with, not against, the world. He lifted stones, one by one, feeling their weight and understanding their balance. Not to display strength, but to learn the subtle ways the earth supports him, and how even the smallest movements can ripple outward with gentle consequence. Each action was absorbed slowly, becoming part of him, part of the rhythm of his growing awareness. The nymphs watched silently, their whispers soft as a breeze, reminding him of lessons he had learned, of the stories of his swallowed siblings, and of the inevitability of destiny. Zeus listened attentively, not with impatience, but with the calm understanding of one who knows that time shapes all things. Even the winds outside the cave seemed to respond. They rustled softly through the trees, brushing leaves against one another, carrying hints of distant movement. Zeus felt their subtle currents and learned to read their patterns, understanding how the forces of the world could be felt, guided, and observed without being forced. The earth, Gaia herself, hummed quietly beneath him, soft vibrations through stone and soil. She guided him gently, teaching him that control is more than strength, that wisdom comes from listening as much as acting. The cave was not only a refuge, but a school of patient power, where each day added another layer to the quiet mastery that Zeus was slowly achieving. Cronus remained unaware. He moved through the golden age with his usual vigilance, counting the days, observing the oceans, trusting that swallowing his children had secured the balance of succession. Yet even he could feel faint ripples in the air, a soft vibration he could not name, though he convinced himself it was only the passage of time. Rhea watched quietly, her heart calm, her mind patient. She knew that Zeus's subtle experiments, his gentle testing of his abilities, were shaping him into the force that would restore the balance. She did not rush the process, nor did she interfere. She trusted in the natural timing of destiny, knowing the hidden child's quiet practice was the foundation for what would come. Zeus practiced influence beyond the cave as well. He imagined the paths of streams, the movement of clouds, and the gentle rotation of the stars. He felt the heartbeat of the world, the pulse of oceans and rivers, the slow, unbroken rhythm of time itself. Every day, every small movement, was a lesson in restraint and timing, preparing him for the first deliberate steps he would take against Cronus. Though the golden age remained outwardly serene, beneath its calm surface, destiny was stirring quietly. The threads of fate were weaving themselves into motion, invisible to the Titans, and only faintly sensed by Cronus. The cycle of succession, long interrupted, was slowly preparing to continue. Zeus's quiet training and observation were laying the foundation, not for sudden upheaval, but for slow, patient, inevitable change. The hidden child was learning the first lessons of influence, timing, and subtle power. The world, unaware, continued its gentle rhythm as the soft, careful ripples of rebellion spread quietly beneath the surface. And so the universe waited, softly, gently, as Zeus tested the boundaries of his abilities, learning the quiet art of shaping the world, preparing for the first moves of destiny that would gently awaken the cycle of defiance. The first moves of destiny, the golden age continued to shine softly across the earth, its rivers winding in gentle arcs, forests whispering quietly with the sway of leaves, and the oceans flowing endlessly, reflecting the soft light of Hyperion and Theia. The Titans moved through their duties, steady, unhurried, and deliberate, their presence blending seamlessly with the calm rhythm of the world. Yet beneath the surface, quiet currents of change began to weave themselves, moving with the patience of time itself. In the hidden cave, Zeus had grown in strength, wisdom, and subtle awareness. The lessons of patience, observation, and gentle influence were now fully rooted within him. The thunder that slept within his chest pulsed softly, a heartbeat in tune with the world, reminding him that the right moment would come for action, but only after careful preparation. The nymphs whispered softly, reminding him of the siblings hidden within Cronus, and of the slow inevitability of fate. Zeus absorbed their words like the calm flow of a river, understanding the importance of timing, and the quiet power of influence over force. Each day, each gentle experiment, each ripple he caused in water or wind, was a step toward the awakening of destiny. Even the earth itself seemed to respond. Gaia hummed softly beneath his feet, her vibrations through stone and soil guiding him toward the careful use of his growing power. The wind shifted subtly around him, the waters of the streams curved to his intent, and the faintest pulse of energy flowed from him into the world, a soft, imperceptible mark of his presence. Outside, Cronus remained oblivious to these subtle stirrings. He counted the days, watched the oceans, observed the stars, and trusted that control was absolute. Yet a faint unease lingered at the edge of his mind, like a whisper brushing past the edges of consciousness, though he could not name its source. The Golden Age appeared perfect, unbroken, and serene, but destiny was already moving beneath its surface. Rhea moved silently among the Titans, her heart calm, her mind patient. She knew that Zeus's quiet preparations were shaping him into the force that would restore balance. She intervened only with gentle guidance, allowing time and patience to do their work. She understood that the first moves of destiny cannot be rushed. They unfold softly, inevitably, like the slow rise of the dawn. Zeus began to test the first deliberate movements of his power. Not to confront, not to strike, but to feel the world's response to his presence. He lifted heavier stones, moved water through more intricate paths, and directed subtle currents of air with care. Each movement was intentional, precise, an experiment in influence and patience. The world responded gently, quietly, bending to his guidance without breaking, teaching him the rhythm of power itself. Even the stars seemed to shimmer differently, casting soft, patient light over the forests and rivers, as if acknowledging the quiet unfolding of change. The Golden Age, outwardly unchanged, was becoming the stage for destiny's first ripple. The threads of rebellion, soft and imperceptible, were beginning to spread, guided by the calm, deliberate hand of the hidden child. Cronus, confident in his control, remained unaware that the first subtle stirrings of defiance were taking shape. He felt only the faintest brush of tension, but it was insufficient to disturb his certainty. The slow, inevitable movements of fate were beyond even his vigilance. Zeus, in the hidden cave, had taken the first gentle steps toward change. Every action, every ripple of influence, every small test of strength and control was part of the quiet orchestration of destiny. Not with haste, not with violence, but with patience, care, and precision, he was preparing the world for the inevitable awakening that would lead to the restoration of his siblings and the slow, deliberate reshaping of the cosmos. And so, the Golden Age continued outwardly serene, while beneath its calm, Zeus moved with quiet confidence, listening to the earth, feeling the currents of air and water, and guiding the first subtle ripples of rebellion. The first moves of destiny had begun, soft, gentle, inevitable, as the slow turning of fate whispered through the world. The awakening of allies. The Golden Age stretched across the earth in soft, unbroken rhythm. The oceans flowed gently, rivers curved quietly through the forests and plains, and sunlight moved slowly across the hills, touching each leaf, each stone, each blade of grass with patient, steady warmth. The Titans continued their measured duties, their presence serene, deliberate, and unhurried, blending seamlessly with the calm order of the world. Yet beneath this surface of perfection, quiet movements of change were beginning to ripple outward. In his hidden cave, Zeus, the child of prophecy, had grown stronger, his awareness deeper, and his mastery of patience and subtle power complete. The gentle lessons of the earth, wind, and water had shaped him into a being who could influence without force, whose power flowed quietly, like the soft currents of a river beneath still water. The nymphs whispered gently, reminding him of the siblings still hidden inside Cronus, and of the quiet inevitability of destiny. Zeus listened carefully, absorbing every word, every story, every lesson in patience and understanding. He did not feel haste, nor did he rush toward action. He only prepared, quietly and deliberately, allowing the first threads of rebellion to form like the earliest light of dawn on the horizon. Outside the cave, nature itself seemed to respond. The wind shifted subtly, moving in soft, swirling patterns that could be felt but not seen. Rivers curved with gentle grace, as if acknowledging the presence of a force unseen. Even the forest seemed to bend toward him, the leaves brushing softly together in a rhythm that whispered of quiet attention and of patience rewarded. Gaia's presence was constant, calm and steady. She guided Zeus with soft vibrations through the soil and stone, teaching him the slow, careful art of influence. Patience, she whispered through roots and riverbeds, is the path to strength. Quiet control is the power that moves the world. Zeus felt these subtle currents, and he allowed them to flow into his understanding, deepening his connection to the rhythms of the earth. It was time to begin the awakening of allies. Not through force, not with commands, but through careful, gentle influence. Zeus began reaching out in quiet ways, sending soft ripples of awareness to those who had been forgotten, those who were waiting patiently in silence, hidden from the eyes of Cronus. The first to stir were the minor deities and spirits of nature, nymphs of rivers, trees, and mountains, whose presence had long been quiet, unnoticed. They felt the gentle pulse of Zeus's power, a subtle vibration that reached them deep within their being. Softly, without pressure, they began to awaken to his presence, their minds and hearts aligning with the hidden child who would one day lead the cycle of destiny forward. The gentle currents of air carried the faintest signals to creatures of the skies and oceans, to beings who lived quietly beyond the sight of the Titans. The first small alliances were forming, their loyalty not demanded, but offered freely in recognition of the calm, patient strength that emanated from Zeus. Even Cronus, confident in his control, remained unaware of these quiet stirrings. He watched the rivers and stars as always, measured the passage of days, and reassured himself that the golden age remained perfectly balanced. Yet beneath his certainty, the faintest ripple of change brushed the edges of awareness, a gentle hint of destiny awakening beneath the surface. Zeus moved carefully, testing his ability to reach others without revealing himself. He whispered soft patterns into the currents of rivers and streams, allowed the winds to carry gentle instructions, and let the earth guide him to those who were ready. Each ally who stirred, each spirit who awoke, was a quiet triumph, a patient step toward the eventual confrontation that destiny had long foretold. The world, outwardly serene, continued its slow rhythm. But beneath the calm surface, a quiet force was gathering. The allies of the hidden child were awakening gently, one by one, drawn by patience, awareness, and the subtle power that flowed from the cave hidden deep within the earth. And so, the golden age remained outwardly unbroken, while beneath its calm, Zeus quietly gathered strength and companions, preparing for the slow, inevitable awakening that would guide the world toward the next turning of fate. Gentle gathering of allies. The world outside continued its quiet rhythm. Rivers curved through forests in gentle, looping paths, leaves swayed slowly in the soft winds, and the distant mountains rested beneath the soft glow of the sun. The Titans moved as always, their presence serene, their duties steady and deliberate, believing the Golden Age untouched and perfectly balanced. Yet beneath this calm, Zeus worked quietly, preparing for the awakening of allies. His influence was subtle, almost imperceptible, like the faint ripple across still water. He did not call loudly, nor did he command. He whispered softly to the currents of rivers, to the winds that moved through forests, to the stones, the roots, and the creatures who lived in hidden places. Slowly, patiently, they began to awaken, attuned to the quiet power of the child who had grown in secrecy. The first to respond were the nymphs, spirits of rivers, trees, and mountains, whose eyes had long been hidden, whose presence had always been gentle and unseen. They felt the soft pulse of Zeus's power, a rhythm that resonated deep within them. It was not forceful, not demanding, but calming, reassuring, and full of quiet authority. They rose softly from their hidden places, their attention turning toward the cavern where the hidden child waited. Animals of the forest sensed the subtle shift as well. Birds lifted gently from their nests, their wings brushing the morning air with soft murmurs. Deer and other creatures paused in their grazing, feeling the faint currents of influence flowing through the land. Even the smallest insects moved differently, following rhythms unseen, echoing the soft pull of the awakening world. Zeus continued his careful guidance, testing his ability to reach them without alarming the Titans. He extended his awareness along the gentle flow of streams, into the rustle of leaves, and the quiet sway of the wind. Each ripple of influence was deliberate, each movement measured and precise. Every ally who responded was a step closer to the restoration of balance that destiny had promised. The earth beneath him hummed softly, its pulse aligning with the growing strength of the hidden child. Gaia's presence offered reassurance, reminding Zeus that timing was everything. "Let them awaken at their own pace," she whispered, "for true loyalty grows in calm and patience, and strength is nurtured by understanding, not haste." Zeus absorbed her guidance, allowing it to shape the way he moved and reached out. Even the sky seemed aware of these quiet stirrings. Clouds drifted lazily across the horizon, shifting with gentle intention, as if reflecting the subtle movement of allies unseen. The soft light of day touched every leaf, every stone, and each surface carried the faintest vibration of anticipation. Cronus remained confident in his control. He watched the rivers, observed the stars, and measured the passing days with meticulous care. Yet, a faint ripple of unease brushed at the edges of his mind, a sensation he could not name, though he trusted his perception was unbroken. The Golden Age seemed perfect and serene, even as destiny quietly prepared for its next steps. Zeus reached out gently to the minor deities, to spirits long dormant in hidden corners of the world. They felt the warmth of his presence, the calm certainty of his power, and slowly, softly, they began to respond. Their attention shifted toward him, their awareness aligning with his, without the need for commands or force. The first whispers of alliance were forming, soft and patient, like leaves brushing together in a gentle wind. Every awakening was a lesson for Zeus. He learned how to guide without pressing, to influence without demanding, and to nurture loyalty through quiet assurance. The first allies stirred, their hearts and minds opening to his presence, ready to support the slow, deliberate restoration of what had long been hidden. And so, the Golden Age remained outwardly undisturbed, its rhythm serene, its harmony unbroken. But beneath the calm, a quiet force was gathering, a gentle army of allies awakening under the careful guidance of the hidden child, preparing the world for the slow, inevitable turning of fate. The allies awakened fully, the golden age remained outwardly serene. Rivers wound gently through the land, forests swayed softly in the mild breeze, and the ocean shimmered under the slow, patient light of day. The Titans moved through their duties with unhurried grace, their presence deliberate, careful, and calm, blending seamlessly with the steady rhythm of the world. Yet beneath this tranquility, quiet currents of change had grown stronger. Zeus, the hidden child of prophecy, had completed the subtle awakening of allies. Those who had stirred at the first gentle signals were now fully aware, their minds and hearts aligned with his quiet, patient purpose. The nymphs of rivers and forests, spirits of mountains and hidden springs, moved with deliberate calm. Their presence was gentle yet powerful, each connected to the pulse of the earth, each aware of the hidden child's guidance. They did not rush, they did not shout, their loyalty was quiet, deep, and unwavering. They followed the soft rhythms of Zeus's power, their awareness attuned to the subtle movements of destiny. Animals in the forests and plains sensed the shift as well. Birds took flight in slow, purposeful arcs, their wings whispering across the morning air. Deer and other gentle creatures wandered calmly, moving in harmony with the rhythms of the awakened world. Even the smallest insects seemed to follow the faint currents of energy, their movements echoing the subtle power spreading through the land. Zeus observed with quiet satisfaction. Every ripple of influence, every soft gesture of guidance, had nurtured these awakenings without force. He had learned the delicate art of timing and patience, how to inspire allegiance without imposing it. His power, though immense, moved like a soft wind, gentle, unseen, and entirely precise. The earth itself seemed to hum in harmony with these stirrings. Gaia's whispers traveled through stone, soil, and roots, her calm encouragement reminding Zeus that restraint is strength, and patience is the foundation of power. He absorbed these lessons deeply, feeling the interconnectedness of allies, the land, and the quiet movement of fate. Cronus remained confident in his control. He watched the oceans, measured the stars, and observed the passage of days, trusting in the perfection of his golden age. Yet faint hints of change brushed the edges of his awareness, like a ripple passing, unnoticed beneath still waters. He dismissed these signs, certain his vigilance was enough, while the gentle tide of destiny gathered strength. The newly awakened allies moved softly, never breaking the calm of the world, but ready to respond when the time came. Zeus guided them with patience and care, teaching them the rhythm of coordination, how to act with precision and understanding. Their loyalty was not demanded, but earned through quiet demonstration of the hidden child's wisdom and restraint. Small spirits carried messages silently through the forests and streams. The minor deities, now fully aware, began to move in quiet patterns of preparation, exploring the world with soft footsteps, aligning their actions to the subtle orchestration of fate. Each awakening, each soft movement, was a thread woven into the slow, inevitable tapestry of rebellion. Even the winds and waters seemed to respond, adjusting to the harmony of these new allies. Streams curved in gentle arcs, leaves rustled with soft precision, and distant clouds moved slowly across the sky, reflecting the quiet, patient alignment of the awakened forces. Zeus, standing in his hidden cavern, felt the first real weight of subtle support. The quiet army of allies was ready, not yet for battle, but for the careful, deliberate unfolding of destiny. The first steps had been taken, the threads of defiance were fully awake, and the slow turning of fate had begun in earnest. And so, the Golden Age continued outwardly perfect, while beneath its calm surface, Zeus's allies moved in quiet unity, listening, observing, and preparing for the day when the hidden child would lead them in the inevitable reshaping of the cosmos. The stage was set, the currents of destiny were aligned, and the first soft, patient waves of rebellion were now ready to flow. The battle begins, the Golden Age, outwardly serene, carried on in its gentle rhythm. Rivers curved softly through forests, leaves swayed in mild, whispering breezes, and the oceans reflected the slow, patient light of day. The Titans continued their duties with steady grace, unaware that beneath the calm, a quiet movement was gathering strength. Zeus, the hidden child of prophecy, stood quietly in his cavern, feeling the pulse of the world beneath his feet. His allies, fully awakened, moved softly in the shadows, spirits of rivers, mountains, and forests, their loyalty calm, deep, and patient. The time had come for the first deliberate steps toward confrontation, though no violence yet disturbed the harmony of the Golden Age. The first actions were subtle, like ripples across still water. Zeus reached outward with careful attention, allowing his influence to guide the currents of rivers, the sway of the wind, and even the small movements of animals and spirits. Everything shifted gently in alignment, an invisible orchestra preparing for the first notes of a larger symphony. The nymphs of the forests moved silently, their presence soft as moss, yet carrying a quiet strength. They communicated with the spirits of streams, and the whispers of the wind carried instructions, allowing coordination without disruption. Even the stars above seemed to shimmer differently, casting a soft glow across the land, reflecting the subtle alignment of allies and hidden forces. Cronus, confident in his vigilance, remained unaware of these gentle stirrings. He moved among the Titans with his usual careful attention, measuring the rivers, observing the skies, and trusting that his rule was secure. Yet faint vibrations brushed at the edges of his mind, soft, almost imperceptible hints that something beneath the surface was beginning to shift. Zeus tested the first boundaries of action. He guided a small stream to flow along a new path, its waters brushing against stones with gentle precision. A few nymphs shifted subtly through the forests, leaves moving just enough to signal the awakening of forces. Each movement was deliberate, controlled, designed to test the responsiveness of his allies without alerting the Titans. The earth itself seemed to hum with anticipation. Gaia's whispers flowed through stone and soil, reminding Zeus that restraint is power and patience is strength. Let them feel your presence, but do not force their attention, she murmured through the roots and waters. Zeus absorbed this guidance, moving carefully, each action deliberate, each ripple measured. Even the smallest creatures of the forests participated in this subtle orchestration. Birds shifted their flight patterns gently, deer and other animals moved with soft awareness, and insects followed quiet currents of energy, all aligned with the gentle pulse of awakening. The Golden Age remained outwardly perfect, but beneath the surface, A careful choreography of power was unfolding. Zeus's allies began to communicate through quiet gestures. The nymphs of rivers signaled the mountains, streams rippled in soft patterns, and the spirits of hidden groves moved through the forests. The coordination was seamless, quiet, and precise. No sudden force was used, only careful alignment, preparing the world for the first tangible movement against the complacency of Cronus. The first ripple of confrontation was not violent, but deliberate. A small shift in a river's flow, the subtle movement of a forest canopy, a gentle stir in the wind, all were part of Zeus's careful orchestration. The Titans, unaware, continued their routines, their calm presence contrasting with the hidden currents that quietly prepared for the slow awakening of rebellion. And so, the Golden Age continued outwardly serene, while beneath its surface, Zeus guided the first movements of the battle. The allies responded with quiet precision, the currents of the earth, wind, and water aligned to his purpose, and the first threads of confrontation were woven softly, gently, inevitably, into the rhythm of destiny. The subtle clashes, the Golden Age remained outwardly perfect, its rivers winding smoothly through forests, the gentle sway of leaves brushing softly in the mild wind, and the oceans reflecting a calm, steady light. The Titans moved deliberately, their presence unhurried, believing that the world remained under their careful control. Yet beneath this serene surface, the first soft clashes of power began to ripple through the land. Zeus, the hidden child of prophecy, moved carefully among his allies, guiding their subtle influence, testing the boundaries of their coordination, and feeling the world's response to their gentle alignment. The nymphs of rivers and forests moved like whispers, sliding through hidden paths with the grace of quiet currents. They nudged the flow of streams, guided breezes through the trees, and shifted the small creatures of the land without disturbing the outward calm. Each movement was precise, deliberate, a soft demonstration of control and timing rather than force or confrontation. Small disturbances reached the edges of Cronus's awareness. He felt faint currents, like the pulse of a distant wind, touching his consciousness but never fully revealing their source. He trusted in his vigilance, believing the Golden Age remained stable, yet the gentle ripples of unseen power brushed quietly against him, almost imperceptible, but undeniable to the careful observer. Zeus continued his careful testing. A branch shifted along a forest path, a stream turned slightly in its flow, and the wind carried soft whispers to the mountain peaks. Each subtle movement measured the responsiveness of both allies and the world itself. The forest, rivers, and skies moved in harmony, a quiet symphony of alignment, preparing for the next steps of confrontation. Even the earth beneath him seemed to participate. Gaia's calm vibrations moved through stone and soil, supporting the gentle orchestration of awakening. Influence without force, she whispered, moves faster than the strongest hand. Patience will guide them, and careful timing will shape the outcome. Zeus absorbed her words, allowing each lesson to guide the smallest shifts in power, each ripple moving slowly, purposefully, without haste. The first interactions of allies with the world grew stronger. Minor spirits nudged rocks to block hidden paths, rivers shifted to obscure shallow crossings, and breezes carried signals to distant groves. All of these movements were subtle, yet together they created a soft tension in the environment, a feeling of anticipation that could not be ignored by those attuned to the land. The small ripples extended outward, caressing the edges of Cronus's perception. Though he remained outwardly calm, he sensed the faintest shift in the world's rhythm, like the gentle vibrations of a sleeping giant, present yet undisturbed. The Golden Age continued to appear perfect, but the quiet threads of rebellion were weaving an invisible web beneath its surface. Zeus watched with careful attention. Every ripple of influence, every subtle shift, every soft alignment of allies was a lesson in timing, patience, and precision. He felt the heartbeat of the world, the pulse of earth, water, and wind, and the first delicate stirrings of confrontation flowing beneath the calm surface. Even the stars seemed to shimmer in response, casting their soft, patient light across the forests and rivers. The allies of Zeus, now fully awake, moved in quiet unity, coordinated with subtle gestures, whispers, and glances, their loyalty earned through calm guidance, not through force or command. The first real clash of power was gentle, measured, and invisible to the untrained eye. Rivers shifted, leaves swirled, and breezes nudged with purpose, testing the limits of the Golden Age without breaking its harmony. The Titans remained unaware, moving with the same deliberate calm, oblivious to the careful orchestration of defiance beneath their feet. And so, the first soft clashes of power continued, like ripples across a quiet pond. The Golden Age appeared untouched, but the currents of destiny were beginning to swirl, guided by Zeus's patient hand, as the first gentle waves of confrontation slowly, inevitably, began to shape the world for change. The first escalation, the Golden Age, stretched outward in gentle calm, its rivers winding smoothly through the forests, oceans flowing without disturbance, and sunlight spreading slowly over hills and valleys. The Titans moved with deliberate grace, performing their duties in measured rhythm, believing the world remained untouched, perfect, and under their careful control. Yet beneath this serene surface, the first soft escalation of conflict was quietly unfolding. Zeus, the hidden child of prophecy, stood in his cavern, observing his allies and the subtle movements of the world around him. Every river bend, every leaf stirred by the wind, and every soft vibration through the soil was now part of a carefully orchestrated plan. No violence yet, no thunder or fire, only gentle, deliberate steps, preparing the stage for the slow awakening of rebellion. The nymphs of rivers and forests moved with deliberate care. They guided streams along new paths, nudged small animals and creatures, and whispered to the winds, their communication subtle, precise, and harmonious. Their actions, soft and unnoticeable to the untrained eye, created invisible ripples of alignment, preparing for the day when the currents of destiny would turn toward confrontation. Even the animals of the land felt the soft energy. Birds flew in measured patterns, their wings stirring small currents of air. Deer and other gentle creatures moved through the forests with the quiet awareness of purpose. Even the smallest insects seemed to sense the subtle shifts, their motions harmonizing with the gentle orchestration that spread unseen across the world. Zeus extended his awareness farther, feeling the responses of allies and the subtle reaction of the earth itself. Gaia's calm vibrations whispered guidance, teaching him that power does not rush, control is patience, influence is subtle, and loyalty is nurtured, not demanded. He observed the first soft tensions in the flow of rivers, the gentle bending of winds around mountains, and the quiet alignment of his allies, all acting with calm precision and quiet awareness. Cronus, confident in his dominion, moved among the Titans, measuring oceans, observing the skies, counting days, and trusting in the perfection of the Golden Age. Yet faint ripples brushed the edges of his mind, like soft vibrations beneath still waters. He felt something shifting, though he could not name it, and he dismissed it as a trick of perception, still unaware of the quiet orchestration gathering beneath the surface. The allies, now fully attuned to Zeus's guidance, took the next subtle steps in their preparation. Streams shifted slightly, rocks were nudged into new positions, and winds whispered softly across valleys, all coordinated without force, without noise. The first gentle clashes of alignment against the Golden Age were barely perceptible to those who did not look carefully, but they carried the unmistakable weight of intention. Zeus observed the patterns, not with urgency, but with calm, measured awareness. Each ripple of action, each shift of energy, was part of the patient unfolding of destiny. The first escalation was gentle, designed to test the balance, to see how his subtle interventions could ripple through the world. Even the Titan's gaze was unaware of these first deliberate shifts, their daily routines undisturbed, their perception untested. The currents of water and air moved in soft, deliberate harmony, like a symphony composed by invisible hands. Zeus guided his allies through careful gestures, through soft patterns of communication, ensuring that their movements aligned without disrupting the outward perfection of the Golden Age. The stage was set. The first threads of confrontation had woven themselves through the land, through the skies, and into the hearts of those who listened. And so, the Golden Age continued outwardly perfect, its calm undisturbed, while beneath its surface, the quiet escalation of rebellion spread like soft ripples on water. Zeus's allies moved with gentle precision, the world's currents aligned to his purpose, and the first deliberate moves of confrontation prepared the stage for the slow, inevitable unfolding of destiny that would reshape the cosmos. The first fall of Cronus, the world remained calm, its surface a reflection of the Golden Age. Rivers glided silently through ancient forests, leaves swayed gently in the soft caress of wind, and oceans moved in endless, patient rhythm. The Titans, proud and confident in their dominion, went about their duties with steady grace, unaware that the first true stirrings of change were moving quietly beneath their feet. Zeus, the hidden child of prophecy, stood among his allies, feeling the pulse of the earth beneath him. The first subtle conflicts had prepared the stage, and now the time for the first decisive steps had arrived, not with chaos, but with careful, deliberate alignment. The hidden child's power, honed by months of patient training, flowed like a soft, unstoppable current, gentle yet irresistible in its quiet strength. The nymphs of forests and rivers moved softly, their movements precise and harmonious. They guided streams to shift along new courses, nudged winds to brush mountains and valleys just so, and moved creatures with delicate care. Every action was subtle, barely perceptible, yet each ripple carried the weight of inevitability. The hidden child's influence extended farther than before, touching corners of the world that had remained untouched for centuries. Zeus felt the heartbeat of his allies, their loyalty quiet, unwavering, and complete. Each spirit, each minor deity, responded with soft, deliberate gestures, aligning themselves in preparation for the slow, careful confrontation to come. The currents of water, wind, and earth moved as one, guided by the soft but firm hand of the child who had grown in secrecy. Even the smallest of creatures sensed the change. Birds lifted into the sky with gentle precision, their wings tracing subtle patterns above the forests. Deer and other animals moved through the undergrowth with careful awareness of the forces at work. Insects and small creatures shifted their paths, following the gentle rhythm of awakening, their tiny movements echoing the larger currents of destiny. Cronus, confident in his omnipotence, remained largely unaware of these soft stirrings. He measured the oceans, observed the stars, and trusted that the golden age remained perfectly balanced. Yet a faint tension brushed the edges of his mind, like a distant tremor beneath still waters. He could not place its source, and so he dismissed it, trusting in his vigilance, unaware that the first threads of his undoing were quietly wrapping around the foundations of his power. Zeus's first decisive step was careful and controlled. He guided a stream to flow along a new path, one that subtly shifted the surrounding land, changing the familiar balance of the forests and valleys. A soft wind carried whispers to the mountains and rivers, communicating without noise, without disturbance, and aligning allies in positions that would soon prove critical. The earth itself responded, vibrating softly beneath his feet. Gaia's gentle guidance reinforced his actions, reminding him that patience is strength, and timing is the most potent form of power. Move without haste, she murmured through stone and soil, and let the currents of loyalty flow naturally toward you. Even the strongest hand falters if it acts too soon. Zeus absorbed her quiet counsel, allowing it to shape every movement, every ripple of influence, every subtle shift in the world. The first tangible cracks in Cronus's dominance were now forming, though outwardly invisible. Rivers no longer flowed exactly as he had measured. The forests held a tension he could not name. Even the air carried a subtle pattern he could feel, a faint brush of defiance that whispered of hidden forces. The Golden Age, still seemingly perfect, was beginning to bend under the quiet influence of the child born to challenge it. Zeus moved among his allies with gentle precision, their soft movements coordinated as one, their loyalty earned through calm demonstration of wisdom and patience. The first steps toward the fall of Cronus were deliberate, careful, and entirely controlled. No loud battle had yet begun, no thunder had cracked across the skies, and yet the currents of change were unstoppable, spreading quietly, inevitably, through the world. The Golden Age continued outwardly serene, while beneath its calm surface, the first real cracks in Cronus's reign appeared, like faint ripples across still water. Zeus's allies moved in quiet harmony, rivers shifted gently, winds carried soft messages, and the subtle, patient hand of destiny prepared the world for the first steps of true confrontation. The cracks of power, the Golden Age stretched outward in quiet perfection. Sunlight touched forests and rivers with slow, patient warmth, leaves brushed softly against one another in the gentle wind, and oceans shimmered in endless, unbroken rhythm. The Titans continued their daily routines with steady precision, their presence calm, deliberate, and confident, believing that the world remained under their flawless control. Yet beneath this calm, the subtle currents of change were now stronger, ripples becoming waves, and the quiet alignment of Zeus's allies was beginning to strain the foundations of Cronus's power. The hidden child of prophecy moved carefully, like a slow, persistent stream eroding stone, every action deliberate, every movement intentional. The nymphs and minor deities had grown fully responsive. Rivers shifted with measured grace, nudging the landscape ever so slightly. The forests responded to whispers carried by the wind, leaves brushing paths that had long been untouched. Even the smallest creatures of the land moved with quiet awareness, their patterns forming an invisible network aligned to the subtle orchestration of the hidden child. Zeus's power had grown in depth and precision. He tested the reactions of the world carefully, guiding winds to whisper across mountain peaks, shifting water to erode familiar paths, and nudging forests into gentle but deliberate motion. Every movement carried intention, each ripple a quiet test of strength, and each shift prepared the stage for the next steps in the slow unraveling of Cronus's dominion. Cronus began to sense faint disturbances. He noticed that rivers flowed differently, that the forests carried a subtle tension, and that the air itself seemed to hum with an unfamiliar rhythm. Though he trusted his vigilance, the faintest unease brushed the edges of his consciousness, like distant thunder before the storm. He could not identify its source, and so he dismissed it, believing the golden age remained perfect. Zeus continued his careful approach, allowing the first cracks in Cronus's control to appear without breaking the outward calm of the world. The first disturbances were subtle, a river shifting course, a forest path subtly blocked by fallen branches, a breeze carrying the quiet messages of his allies. Yet each of these actions, soft and patient, wove a pattern that Cronus could not fully ignore, even if he could not yet perceive its origin. The earth itself responded to the growing tension. Gaia's soft hums vibrated through stone and soil, reinforcing the alignment of allies and currents alike. Patience and precision, she whispered. Even the strongest titan falters when the currents of destiny are quietly aligned against him. Move carefully, let your allies awaken in harmony, and the cracks will deepen without haste. Zeus absorbed this guidance, allowing it to shape each movement, every subtle gesture, every gentle ripple of power. The minor deities moved in quiet synchronization, their actions perfectly coordinated without noise or alarm. Streams flowed into hidden channels, winds brushed mountain ridges with soft nudges, and creatures of the forests moved into positions that would prove crucial for the next steps. Every ally acted in harmony, every shift measured to build toward the inevitable confrontation. Even the skies and stars seemed to participate. Clouds drifted in measured arcs, casting soft shadows across the land. The sun's warmth fell slowly, evenly, illuminating the quiet signs of the world's gentle realignment. The Golden Age remained outwardly calm, yet beneath its surface, the first tangible cracks in Cronus's reign were becoming undeniable. Zeus, standing in his hidden cavern, felt the pulse of change deepen. Every river, every forest, every whisper of wind moved with careful, deliberate alignment. The first soft clashes of influence had expanded, preparing the world for the next stage where the hidden child's presence could no longer remain unseen. Cronus's confidence, once absolute, was slowly beginning to waver under the weight of patience, strategy, and subtle power. And so, the Golden Age continued outwardly perfect, while beneath its calm surface, the quiet waves of rebellion grew stronger. Zeus's allies, the earth, the rivers, and the winds, moved as one gentle, precise, and patient force, ready to guide the world toward the inevitable awakening that would signal the first fall of Cronus. The first triumph, the Golden Age, stretched across the land, its rivers winding with gentle curves, forests swaying softly in the mild, whispering wind, and oceans reflecting the slow, patient glow of sunlight. The Titans moved with deliberate care, confident in their dominion, believing that the world remained flawless, perfect, and under their unwavering control. Yet beneath this calm surface, the quiet currents of rebellion had grown strong. Zeus, the hidden child of prophecy, stood among his allies, feeling the pulse of the earth, the rivers, and the winds flowing together in soft harmony. The first cracks in Cronus's reign were no longer imperceptible. They were gentle ripples now spreading wider, touching every corner of the land, and signaling that the slow, patient hand of destiny was ready to act. The nymphs of rivers and forests moved with calm precision. Streams shifted to cut hidden paths, mountains seemed to bend subtly to their guidance, and the wind carried messages across the valleys. Even the smallest creatures of the land moved in quiet alignment, their gentle actions forming an invisible network that strengthened the hidden child's influence. Zeus extended his power carefully, not with thunder or fire, but with the deliberate guidance of patience and awareness. He nudged rivers to carve new channels, shifted forests to conceal paths, and allowed breezes to whisper in ways that coordinated the movements of his allies. The first open confrontations were subtle, but undeniable. Streams blocked passages, wind shifted mountains, and creatures gently interfered with the flow of the Golden Age. Cronus began to notice more than faint disturbances. He felt the subtle changes in the world, the soft dissonance in rivers and forests, and the faint tension in the air that he could no longer ignore. His confidence, once absolute, began to flicker with a quiet unease. Though outwardly calm, he could sense that the perfect balance he had relied upon was slowly unraveling beneath his feet. Zeus watched carefully, guiding the soft escalation with measured precision. He did not act in haste, but every subtle movement deepened the cracks in Cronus's power. Allies responded with quiet unity, their actions deliberate, coordinated, and entirely invisible to the unsuspecting Titans. The first victories were small but undeniable. A river shifted to protect a hidden passage, a forest blocked the approach of a Titan patrol, and the wind carried subtle signals of warning to allies far away. Even the earth itself seemed to participate. Gaia's hum moved through stone and soil, reinforcing each action with quiet strength. Patience and alignment, she whispered, will topple what cannot be shaken by force. The first cracks are your victory, and the currents of destiny will flow where you guide them. Zeus absorbed her counsel, allowing every ripple to carry intention, every soft movement to prepare for the inevitable confrontation. The subtle shifts grew into undeniable signs. Streams diverted from their usual course, forests moved like gentle walls, and the air carried whispers of allegiance, echoing the unity of the awakened allies. Cronus, despite his vigilance, could no longer fully control the land. The Golden Age, though still outwardly calm, was no longer untouched. Zeus's first major victory was quiet, measured, and deliberate. The balance of the land subtly shifted in his favor, his allies perfectly coordinated, and the currents of the world flowing in alignment with destiny. Though no thunder had struck, and no violent clash had erupted, The first tangible signs of Cronus's weakening power were undeniable, like faint light breaking through clouds after a long night. The Titans remained outwardly unshaken, yet the foundations of their control had shifted. Rivers, forests, winds, and creatures all whispered their quiet allegiance, and Zeus, the hidden child of prophecy, stood at the center of this slow, patient transformation. The first victory was his, not in war, but in influence, patience, and the careful orchestration of allies. And so, the Golden Age continued outwardly perfect, while beneath its calm surface, the first triumph of Zeus took hold, marking the beginning of the slow, inevitable fall of Cronus, and the quiet awakening of a world ready to follow the deliberate, gentle hand of destiny. The restoration of the cosmos, the Golden Age had reached a quiet turning point. Rivers still wound gently through the land, forests swayed with soft, whispering winds, and oceans shimmered under the slow, patient light of the sun. The Titans moved with their usual deliberation, their confidence intact on the surface, yet beneath their calm, the currents of destiny had shifted irrevocably. Zeus, the hidden child of prophecy, stood among his fully awakened allies. The earth beneath him hummed softly with Gaia's presence. The rivers and winds moved in perfect, quiet coordination, and every nymph, spirit, and creature was aligned to the subtle rhythm that guided the slow undoing of Cronus's dominion. Months of careful preparation and patient orchestration had led to this moment, the time for the final, decisive steps toward restoration. The first movement was gentle but purposeful. Streams shifted more boldly, carving new paths. Forests moved with measured precision to guard hidden passages, and the winds carried soft messages that united the allies. Every element of the world participated, not with force or violence, but with deliberate harmony, reflecting the calm strength of Zeus himself. Cronus began to sense that the Golden Age was no longer entirely under his control. Subtle tremors in the rivers, the forests, and the wind reached his senses, undeniable despite his confidence. A quiet unease settled in his mind, as if the land itself whispered that the time of change had come. Still, outwardly, he moved among the Titans, trusting that the balance he had maintained for so long was unbroken. Zeus acted with deliberate calm, guiding his allies to their final positions, preparing to release the forces carefully held in patience. The hidden siblings, once swallowed by Cronus, felt the currents of awakening through the earth. One by one, they stirred within the confines of their prison, their awareness returning quietly, drawn by the subtle, irresistible rhythm of destiny. The world itself seemed to breathe in alignment with the rising power of Zeus. Gaia's whispers flowed through roots and stones, reminding him that patience had been the truest form of strength. "Lead with calm," she murmured, "and the children of the earth will rise without fear. The balance will shift as naturally as rivers find the sea." Zeus absorbed her guidance fully, allowing each action to unfold with quiet precision. Each step of the rebellion measured and unhurried. The allies of Zeus moved in perfect harmony. Rivers shifted to reveal hidden paths. Forests concealed the first movements of the freed Titans, and the winds carried gentle signals of awakening across the land. The minor deities, fully aware and aligned, ensured that every motion was synchronized, every gesture deliberate, creating a quiet orchestration that the Titans could not resist. Cronus felt the soft pressure of change intensify. The rivers no longer obeyed his measurements, The forest subtly defied his authority, and even the air carried whispers of unity among the hidden forces. For the first time, he sensed that his reign was not absolute, that unseen currents of influence were gathering strength beneath him. A quiet tension spread through the Golden Age, like the still pause before dawn. Zeus moved among the freed siblings, his hand guiding their first steps into the world above. They emerged slowly, deliberately, their presence calm and full of quiet power. One by one, they aligned with the harmony of the world, their awakening bringing strength, balance, and a renewed sense of unity. The earth, rivers, forests, and winds responded, flowing with a gentle, patient rhythm that reflected the restored order of the cosmos. The first soft signs of confrontation were over. No thunder had cracked the skies, no violent battles had erupted. Instead, through patience, careful orchestration, and subtle alignment of allies, Zeus had guided the world toward restoration. The Golden Age now bore a new equilibrium, not the static perfection of before, but a living, breathing harmony in which every being, seen and unseen, was aligned with the quiet strength of destiny. And so, the stage was set for a cosmos renewed. Zeus, the hidden child of prophecy, stood at the center of this calm transformation, his allies fully awakened, his siblings freed, and the Golden Age gently reshaped under the deliberate, patient hand of a leader who had mastered patience, strategy, and subtle power. The restoration of the cosmos, the Golden Age had reached a quiet turning point. Rivers still wound gently through the land, forests swayed with soft, whispering winds, and oceans shimmered under the slow, patient light of the sun. The Titans moved with their usual deliberation, their confidence intact on the surface, yet beneath their calm, the currents of destiny had shifted irrevocably. Zeus, the hidden child of prophecy, stood among his fully awakened allies. The earth beneath him hummed softly with Gaia's presence. The rivers and winds moved in perfect, quiet coordination, and every nymph, spirit, and creature was aligned to the subtle rhythm that guided the slow undoing of Cronus's dominion. Months of careful preparation and patient orchestration had led to this moment, the time for the final, decisive steps toward restoration. The first movement was gentle but purposeful. Streams shifted more boldly, carving new paths. Forests moved with measured precision to guard hidden passages, and the winds carried soft messages that united the allies. Every element of the world participated, not with force or violence, but with deliberate harmony, reflecting the calm strength of Zeus himself. Cronus began to sense that the Golden Age was no longer entirely under his control. Subtle tremors in the rivers, the forests, and the wind reached his senses, undeniable despite his confidence. A quiet unease settled in his mind, as if the land itself whispered that the time of change had come. Still, outwardly, he moved among the Titans, trusting that the balance he had maintained for so long was unbroken. Zeus acted with deliberate calm, guiding his allies to their final positions, preparing to release the forces carefully held in patience. The hidden siblings, once swallowed by Cronus, felt the currents of awakening through the earth. One by one, they stirred within the confines of their prison, their awareness returning quietly, drawn by the subtle, irresistible rhythm of destiny. The world itself seemed to breathe in alignment with the rising power of Zeus. Gaia's whispers flowed through roots and stones, reminding him that patience had been the truest form of strength. "Lead with calm," she murmured, "and the children of the earth will rise without fear. The balance will shift as naturally as rivers find the sea." Zeus absorbed her guidance fully, allowing each action to unfold with quiet precision. Each step of the rebellion measured and unhurried. The allies of Zeus moved in perfect harmony. Rivers shifted to reveal hidden paths, forests concealed the first movements of the freed titans, and the winds carried gentle signals of awakening across the land. The minor deities, fully aware and aligned, ensured that every motion was synchronized, every gesture deliberate, creating a quiet orchestration that the titans could not resist. Cronus felt the soft pressure of change intensify. The rivers no longer obeyed his measurements, the forests subtly defied his authority, and even the air carried whispers of unity among the hidden forces. For the first time, he sensed that his reign was not absolute, that unseen currents of influence were gathering strength beneath him. A quiet tension spread through the Golden Age, like the still pause before dawn. Zeus moved among the freed siblings, his hand guiding their first steps into the world above. They emerged slowly, deliberately, their presence calm and full of quiet power. One by one, they aligned with the harmony of the world, their awakening bringing strength, balance, and a renewed sense of unity. The earth, rivers, forests, and winds responded, flowing with a gentle, patient rhythm that reflected the restored order of the cosmos. The first soft signs of confrontation were over. No thunder had cracked the skies, no violent battles had erupted. Instead, through patience, careful orchestration, and subtle alignment of allies, Zeus had guided the world toward restoration. The Golden Age now bore a new equilibrium, not the static perfection of before, but a living, breathing harmony in which every being, seen and unseen, was aligned with the quiet strength of destiny. And so, the stage was set for a cosmos renewed. Zeus, the hidden child of prophecy, stood at the center of this calm transformation, his allies fully awakened, his siblings freed, and the Golden Age gently reshaped under the deliberate, patient hand of a leader who had mastered patience, strategy, and subtle power. The new order, the Golden Age had shifted, though its surface remained calm and inviting. Rivers flowed smoothly, their currents gentle yet purposeful, forests swayed softly in the warm breeze, and the oceans reflected a tranquil, golden light. The Titans moved with measured steps, unaware that the world beneath them had quietly realigned. Every creature, every spirit, and every force of the earth responded to the subtle orchestration of destiny. Zeus stood at the center of this transformation, his allies and freed siblings moving quietly around him. The first act of liberation had awakened the children of Cronus, bringing them slowly, deliberately, back into the world above. Hestia, Demeter, Hades, Hera, and Poseidon stirred from their long confinement, their senses gradually attuned to the harmony of the earth, their hearts aligned with the quiet rhythm of the cosmos. The rivers and winds whispered gently to them, guiding their steps like invisible hands. Forests shifted softly to reveal hidden paths, mountains bent subtly to open passages, and even the smallest creatures of the land seemed to sense the arrival of these long-lost siblings. Every movement was careful, unhurried, as though the world itself was breathing with them, preparing for a new age of balance. Cronus, now sensing the full scope of the shift, felt unease brush against him like a distant storm. The rivers no longer obeyed his measurements, the forests moved subtly in opposition, and the air carried a quiet, persistent tension. For the first time, the once mighty Titan recognized that his dominion was unraveling, and that the carefully maintained Golden Age was no longer entirely under his control. Zeus moved with quiet authority, not demanding obedience, but allowing the awakened siblings to find their place in the world. Each step of the process was deliberate, every gesture measured to maintain calm and harmony. The siblings, guided by soft currents of influence, took their positions one by one, and with each arrival, the world shifted imperceptibly yet undeniably toward balance and order. The earth itself responded, Gaia's gentle vibration supporting every alignment. "Strength lies in patience," she whispered, "and the bonds of family and loyalty cannot be rushed, only nurtured." Zeus absorbed her guidance fully, allowing the world, the allies, and the siblings themselves to move at a natural, unhurried rhythm. The new order would not be imposed with force, but gently, with the quiet authority of destiny itself. The minor deities, the nymphs, and even the smallest creatures moved in perfect coordination with the awakened siblings. Streams flowed to open hidden routes, forests shifted to protect and conceal, and winds carried messages of calm guidance across mountains and valleys. Every element of the earth was now part of the quiet orchestration, responding to the leadership of Zeus and the presence of his family. Cronus, though mighty, now felt powerless against the subtle harmony of the world. His movements, once confident and absolute, were countered at every turn by the gentle, coordinated forces that flowed like an invisible tide around him. The Golden Age, which had seemed so static and perfect, was now alive, flowing with balance, and responding to the leadership of Zeus and his restored siblings. Finally, the last of the siblings took their place, and the hidden currents of influence settled into harmony. Zeus stood at the center, a calm, patient leader, his family aligned, the world attuned to their guidance, and the Golden Age reshaped into a living, breathing order. No thunder had broken the skies, no fire had scarred the earth, yet the first true restoration had been achieved, quietly, deliberately, with perfect precision. The cosmos itself seemed to exhale. Rivers, forests, winds, mountains, and seas all resonated with the calm authority of the new order. Zeus's allies, his siblings, and every spirit of the world now moved in quiet, patient harmony, ready to shape the future of the universe with wisdom, balance, and calm strength. And so, the story of the Titans came to its gentle conclusion. The Golden Age had been preserved in its calm beauty, yet transformed into a living, breathing cosmos, guided by Zeus, the hidden child of prophecy, and his awakened, restored siblings. The world flowed on in perfect rhythm, its harmony subtle, eternal, and softly enduring, a testament to patience, careful guidance, and the quiet power of destiny. And now, as the story of the Titans comes to a gentle close, the rivers continue to flow softly, the forests sway with quiet grace, and the winds carry whispers of ancient tales across the world. The gods, freed and restored, stand together in calm harmony, their patience, courage, and wisdom shaping the cosmos into a balanced, serene order. And you, dear listener, have journeyed through this timeless story, feeling the quiet power of destiny, the gentle rise of courage, and the calm unfolding of the universe. If this story brought you peace, If the whispers of the Titans have stirred your imagination, then stay with us for more journeys like this. Tap the subscribe button softly so you can continue exploring worlds of myth, legend, and calm storytelling. Turn on notifications and join our quiet adventures as we drift together through the stories that soothe the mind and gently guide you toward rest and wonder. Thank you for sharing this calm moment with us. May the serene rhythm of the universe carry you peacefully through your day and into the quiet beauty of your dreams. Until the next story begins, rest well and let the calm of the Titans linger softly in your mind.